4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
From the ethereal realm of devotion to the practicality of daily spiritual practice, across the vast landscape of Vedic wisdom and teachings, this is Vaishnava Voices. Hosted by the dynamic husband and wife duo, Sitapati Das and Dana Devi, they bring to you an intimate exploration of the vibrant world of Vaishnavism. Interweaving ancient scriptures with modern contexts, personal stories with universal lessons, they illuminate the path of love, devotion, and conscious living.
Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to another episode of Vaishnava Voices. I'm your co-host, Sitapati Das, and beside me, as always, is the wonderful Dana Devi. Today, as with every episode, we're diving deep into the heart of Vaishnava teachings, exploring the wisdom, culture, and practices that guide us towards a life filled with devotion and service.
That's right, Sitapati. We are thrilled to have you on this journey with us. Whether you are a seasoned devotee, a spiritual seeker, or simply curious about Vaishnavism, here in Vaishnava Voices, we are all about fostering connection, understanding, and growth. And remember, we are not just exploring, we are also experiencing. So let's begin.
So sit back, prepare your hearts and minds, and tune into the sounds of the soul on Vaishnava Voices.
Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Welcome to Vaishnava Voices podcast. My name is Sitapati Das.
And my name is Dana Devi.
And we're back after a break. It's been a few weeks. We had Janmashtami, Srila Prabhupada's appearance. We went up north for the festival.
Yep.
I went over to the States to Tompkins Square Park, New York City, Harinam, 26 Second Ave.
What else?
New Jersey to do a podcast episode with Namaras.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're back, and we're back into the swing of things with today's podcast, and we have another one on Sunday, New Zealand time Saturday. But today's episode is repeat guest. He's back, Kaunteya Das, who's going to be. We're talking about Prabhupada and public opinion this time. In demand. We've got 2 people watching live right now. Feel free to drop a comment, hit the like button, share it, tag someone who will be interested to see this. And I know other people are watching Kaunteya Prabhu's previous appearance because they wanted to watch them in chronological order. So people were asking me, where was the first one? Anything you want to say before we bring Kaunteya Das on, Dana Devi?
I guess the title of the discussion. It's important to concentrate on that.
On the title or something specifically?
I mean,
about
the title brings a lot to speak, right?
Prabhupada and public opinion?
Yeah. Some people have some ideas or opinions of like, oh, Srila Prabhupada was this and that, and other people are just like, he spoke the truth as it is, hard to swallow for some, and other ones just like make sense. Like for myself, like, okay, if I think about it calmly, peacefully, and detaching myself of like my ego, then you can understand. You're like, okay, now what I mean, what he means by it, and also what is happening right now in the world, and then you compare. That's like, okay, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
There was a longer title that Kaunteya Prabhu wanted to put on this. It was Prabhupada and Public Opinion, Defending the Founder-Acarya from Criticism Without Fanaticism, Without Being Fanatical, something like that. That was the longer title. I went with Prabhupada and Public Opinion because it's like punchy.
Yeah. It's finding the correct title is quite hard because you need to, it doesn't need to be like too mouthful, like too long. So yeah, it's a balance, I guess.
Okay.
Yep.
A balance. Yeah. Let's see if we can, how this will go. Who knows? But people are tuning in to see it. And so let us bring on, if I can find him here, Kaunteya Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Kaunteya Prabhu. Can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Dandavats. Pranams.
And thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming back on. So, Prabhu, you are accused of being a heretic. How do you plead?
I'm accused of many, many things.
Guilty. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm joking. We know you're guilty. Now we're here to hear you confess and find out exactly the details of the heresy. Prabhupada and Public Opinion. I was looking through your book last night actually. Tough Questions, Difficult Answers, TQDA, which is a play on the Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers book, Bob Cohen, Brahmatirtha Prabhu and Srila Prabhupada's conversation. And some great content in there. But I thought I'd give you the opportunity to lay out your thesis. And then I would like to, this is just how I'm thinking this could go. You can lay out your thesis, and then I could steel man some Purva Paksha kind of objections to it to explore how robust that thesis is. How does that sound to you?
Great, great, Prabhu.
Okay.
How much time do you think it's a proper time, reasonable time to lay down my thesis?
Well, we have, I think, another 427,000 years in this Kali Yuga, and about 10,000 of them are the Golden Age. But I don't know. Could you do it in
No,
10 minutes?
I'll try. Yeah, 10 minutes is fine. 10 minutes is fine.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
The floor is yours, Prabhu.
And can I also share my screen? Is it
You
that
can.
possible?
Yeah. It
Okay.
is possible.
Okay. Now, we all know the ubiquity, we could say the all pervasiveness of the internet. How internet shapes our life, shapes our opinion, and where people search for information, they first go to the internet. Some of you may want to do this exercise or this experiment right here, right while you're listening, including you too, maybe Sitapati Prabhu, Danadevi Prabhu. You go to the number one site in the world, Google, and then you type Prabhupada. And it should take you to the first thing, the first entry. It will be the Wikipedia article on Srila Prabhupada. Now, Wikipedia, last time I checked, was number 5 as the most popular site in the world. Number 2 is YouTube, and we could spend a lot of time. What's the reputation of Srila Prabhupada on YouTube? But they are different in nature. YouTube is it's videos. Number 3 and 4, you have Facebook, and you have Twitter, or now renamed X. So let's focus on Wikipedia. We could say Wikipedia in terms of a place which serves as an encyclopedia. We could say Wikipedia is the encyclopedia of the world. Okay, is the most important site where people look for encyclopedic type of information. And we go Srila Prabhupada. I have it open here. I hope I can share with you. Otherwise, you can go yourself. Share screen. Share screen. Okay, let's see. Are you seeing the Wikipedia article? Is it working? Sitapati Prabhu.
It's right there, Prabhu. Yep, we're all looking at
Okay. Okay, this is the Wikipedia. We could say the most important site of the world where fixed information is kept. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, some biographical notes, early life, spirituality, mission to the West, okay, in India, and so on. Now, views. Now, these are not even presented as controversial views. These are presented as the views of our Founder-Acarya. I repeat, in the most important site of the world. Slavery. Swami said that black people should remain in bondage. And they quote a private conversation in Mayapur from 77. The blacks were slaves. They were under control. And since you have given them equal rights, they are disturbing, most disturbing, always creating a fearful situation, uncultured and drunkards. What training they have got? They have got equal rights. It is best to keep them under control as slaves, but give them sufficient food, sufficient clothes, not more than that. Then they will be satisfied. Now, there is more, obviously. There is lower castes, women, Hitler, the Jews. But let's focus for now on slavery, okay? And now, for any person, any normal person, unless it's a super racist, anti-blacks, anti-African American, this would be quite scandalous. This could be the end of the relation with Srila Prabhupada and with the movement he started. Because any normal person, want to speak of an educated person, for any normal person, this is an atrocious and unacceptable statement. Uh, this is a, I'm just giving one example. Hmm? If you go to the Wikipedia page on Srila Prabhupada in Spanish, and I think both of you speak Spanish, I believe. Okay, you can try while we're talking. We can go to the Spanish Wikipedia, and the entry on Srila Prabhupada is even worse. He says that he promoted a lifestyle which caused a lot of suicide and many other things. If you go to the Latin Wikipedia page, it's even worse than the Spanish. It says something like he was into eugenics, which means eliminating people who are not, of the right race, and he was into Hitler, and he was against the Jews, total anti-Semite, and many other things. Now, we may feel better, little better, that not many people will go to the Latin page. I was talking with a devotee who preaches in Rome, and he has a lot of relation with the Vatican, and he says no, but some of the leading Catholic priests, cardinal, bishops, they do converse in Latin. So if they see those things in the Wikipedia in Latin, already they have an idea of the Hare Krishna movement and its founder. So Srila Prabhupada and public opinion, this is a perfect example. This is the public opinion of the world on our Founder-Acarya, that he wanted the blacks to remain slaves. Obviously, it's a huge problem. You always start with Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. You always are so absorbed in the Sankirtan movement. And obviously, meaning the glories of Krishna, the glories of Lord Chaitanya's movement, the glories of Srila Prabhupada. And this is the type of quote unquote glory that the world sees if he goes to Wikipedia or if he goes to Google, and many sites in many videos in YouTube and many other sites here and there and everywhere. So there are two aspects to this problem. One is the public opinion, how the world sees Srila Prabhupada, what kind of reputation Srila Prabhupada has in the world. Number two, how this information or misinformation affects the devotees. There are many devotees whose faith is very much affected. To tell you the truth, this particular quote was at one point was one of the most difficult to digest, was really perplexing for me, for myself. Then I did this research, I did this study, and I have no problem with this quote anymore. First of all, because I studied the context of the conversation, how the conversation goes. It's a moment of frustration. Srila Prabhupada is not speaking about his policy for blacks. It's just because 77 is more than 10 years. He has seen the blacks somewhat emarginated in America. Many of them, not all obviously, but many of them jobless, many of them in gangs, many of them engaged in so many degrading activities. And it's really frustrating. Just like, say, a father may be frustrated with a child and say, hey, don't touch that or I'll kill you. Obviously, the father has no intention to kill the baby or the child, but it's just in a moment of frustration. And I'm totally convinced of that. Not only that, but, and I bring this up in the book, Srila Prabhupada specifically spoke completely different thing. He said, the blacks were slaves, now they're not. This is very good. Or, for instance, when he was preaching in Kenya, there were some African American devotees who came from America and helped Srila Prabhupada in Kenya. And Srila Prabhupada said this, you can find it in the Amrita. You see, 400 years ago, you were taken away as slaves, and now you come back as masters. So when you take this thing into context, it's completely obvious. And many other quotes on blacks and preaching in Africa, so many other quotes. And when you take the whole information in context, you can see obviously this person is not into slavery, is against slavery, and in fact, his primary motive is to elevate everyone. In fact, he made brahmanas from African Americans and African devotees. He made even he made sannyasis, even made at least one GBC from an African ancestry, from African American ethnic background. Okay, so I put together this book primarily, it's an internal book. It's for devotees who are agitated, disturbed, maybe depressed by these quotes. That was the goal of the book. And I focused on three aspects: the accusations of racism, which includes the blacks, includes the Jews, by extension includes what Srila Prabhupada said about Hitler. That's one, racism. Racism, allegations of racism. Allegations of homophobia means what Srila Prabhupada said about people who are homosexuals. And the third, what Srila Prabhupada said about women. And I'm sure, I'm not sure, but maybe in the course of this dialogue, there will be examples of all this very controversial and from the point of public opinion, damning type of statement. The conclusion is many people see Srila Prabhupada through these sources, learn about Srila Prabhupada first through these sources, and they don't want to have anything to do with him as a person, as an author, or with the movement he started. And on the other side, devotees sometimes are tortured in their heart because they love Srila Prabhupada, they want to follow Srila Prabhupada, but some of the things he said is so difficult for them to contextualize, to explain, to digest, or just to understand what he means. So this is my framing, my premise. Did you have the chance? I don't know if you had the chance to look at the Wikipedia in Spanish.
I did, yeah.
Okay, so you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, so you've kind of laid out, if you will, a problem, identified something. It's that statements that Srila Prabhupada has made have been taken out of context. And then, a particular skewed version of Srila Prabhupada is presented. We've got a comment here from the audience. Pete Umbra says, "Thanks so much for your bravery, Kaunteya Prabhu. Your work has increased my faith." So this is the problem that you're identifying. There's a particular presentation. Now, this, of course, is not like calumny in the sense that it's inaccurate information. You can't go into Wikipedia into the discussion and say he never said that, because he did say it, right? And so I made a few notes here about this, but yeah, I'd just like to look at this one thing here that we're looking at: wanted the blacks to be slaves. So there's a couple of things in there. You said that anyone would find this to be an atrocious, unacceptable statement. I mean,
unless
people,
they're really racist and anti-blacks, of course.
Okay, well, I would challenge that. I would challenge that, because Srila Prabhupada is not racist or anti-black, and he said it, and he doesn't find it to be atrocious and unacceptable. So that means that there is a particular mindset and an approach to this where you can be like, yes, this makes sense, and not be racist and anti-black. Because really what you're saying here is that either Prabhupada didn't say it, he didn't mean it, or he's racist and anti-black, which is really what they're presenting, right? So you've kind of accepted the framing that they've put it in.
Pardon? As you said, I present this as the problem. This is how Srila Prabhupada is depicted in the most important sites of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not accepting their depiction, but the depiction is right there in front of the whole world. So,
Yeah.
your options are, as you
Mhm.
said, either really believes what he said or he didn't mean it. My conclusion after studying, researching, is that it
Mhm.
did not mean it at all, literally. It was, as I said, a moment of frustration, just like a father may tell the kid, hey, don't touch that, don't eat that, or kill it. I'll kill you.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now, uh, what happened here is this. Srila
Mhm.
Prabhupada has a very particular usage of the English language. Hmm? And particularly when he talks about slavery, and in the book, I give the whole section on this with examples. He kinds of conflates, emerges the concept of slaves, the concept of shudras, the concept of indented workers, and even the concept of employees. Um, I mean, I don't expect you to remember the I don't expect you to remember the particular section. It's a 660-page book. So, but it's very interesting. In another section, it may be that just the next section from this after this quote is analyzed, and he uses all this as okay. They are dependent, like Shudras are dependent on the master, are dependent on their employees. He talks
Mhm.
about, say, Japanese employees, which he knew from Dai Nippon, the printer. So he kind of conflates all this, and as he does with different words, he kind of merges. It's like he say, basically what he's actually saying, my understanding, my opinion, my interpretation, my
Mhm.
conclusion, is Srila Prabhupada is saying, hey, these blacks, instead of loitering in the streets or joining a gang or getting into alcoholism or getting into welfare, would have been much better if they were, say, on a farm with a benevolent master who will take care of them, and they will be much happier. That's the what you call the subtext or the meaning. That's my conclusion of what Srila Prabhupada said. And I'm not saying just based on that particular quote or trying to be a spin doctor. Uh, I'm,
Mhm.
I'm basing that all the other things that he said. Like for instance, there is an arrival lecture in Philadelphia, and he specifically says, you see, black, women, white, we are all chanting together. I'm paraphrasing. We are all chanting together, Krishna conscious for everybody, men, women, white, black. They all have the right for Krishna consciousness. And in one sense, even more importantly, how he dealt with black devotees. As I said, he accepted in the moment, he gave first initiation, he gave second initiation, at least one case, he gave sannyas, in at least one case, he made one GBC. He was, as we know, very, very happy with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj mission in the Eastern Bloc when it was all communist countries, and he was really rejuvenated, energized to hear the book distribution by, at the time, his name was Ghanasham Prabhu, who became Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So if you see Srila Prabhupada, how he dealt with blacks, how he dealt with Africa, he went, I believe, 5 times to Africa. And in Africa, very interestingly, I think his first preacher was Brahmananda Prabhu, and he had focused himself on the Indians. And when Srila Prabhupada came there, he said, no, we are not here for the Indians. We are here for the blacks. This is their country. And he kind of closed the temple in the Indian area, opened some place in a black area of Nairobi. This is very graphically described in Lilamrita. It's beautiful. And he focused on the blacks. He knew the potential. He knew the potential of every souls. Of course, we know Srila Prabhupada. So this is
Of course,
my
he did the same
understanding.
thing in England.
Uh,
Of
Pardon?
course, he did the same thing in England with the devotees there. Said, focus on the English people, not
Yeah,
the diaspora,
yeah.
patriot Indians here.
The same thing in Hong Kong. Focus on the Chinese. Don't go just after the Chinese and the Indians in Hong Kong. Yeah.
I think you touched on something, Prabhu, that is revealed by this. Srila Prabhupada's statement is challenging, and today people would find it to be an atrocious, unacceptable statement, and they would think it was anti-black and racist, right? But then when you described it in more detail, you reveal the deeper truth that he's pointing to here. The dismantling of the slave system in the US, right? It's the result of a war. And the victors are the ones who write the history. So they've now written slavery for black people as like this horrible thing that morally motivated the North to conquer the South and then free the slaves. That's the story that the victors have written, right? That they were all being whipped and it was a horrible situation. But as you say, a benevolent master who maintains them, takes care of them, and they're well situated and settled in that way. I think it might have been Urmila Devi Darcy, or I can't remember who actually. No, maybe Thomas Sowell. Someone made this statement, this analysis. They said, what they did is, first of all, the North conquered the South of the United States, and in the North they were industrialized, and in the South they weren't. So they needed the manpower of the slavery. But what they did is they took these people who were maintained completely, and then they turned them out into the street, and then they would just rent them by the hour, and turned them into employable or unemployable wage slaves, and created this whole situation where we're no longer responsible for the maintenance of these people, someone else's problem, which caused the whole social disorder that we see today. Some people would say it's atrocious, unacceptable statement. Other people, like the guy who wrote the Dilbert cartoons, Scott Adams, he would say, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, this guy's like, he's onto it. Like, this is a problem in this country that we did that. And, the propaganda is that slavery was bad and it was good to do that. But actually, it was the action of Northern industrialists who did that. And a lot of Srila Prabhupada's analysis is like that. It's historical revisionism. Hitler's another one.
You like me to comment on that?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Yes, definitely. What Srila Prabhupada is attacking is how this shift from slavery to freedom was managed. That's exact. I think you exactly hit the bullseye. He was saying, if you had to manage this shift, and there are many problems with this shift. I mean, we could probably have the whole interview just on the shift from slavery to freedom to free men in North America. But there were many problems and many negative results for the blacks themselves in some cases. And Srila Prabhupada was exactly attacking that, how the shift was done very improperly. Now, it's a fact, historical fact, not only in North America, but in history, that sometimes enslaved people are better off than free people. If you study the Roman Empire, for instance, in which a lot of people were enslaved due to war and this and that, sometimes the free people, they were offering themselves as slaves because they would be better off with the master, with some I don't know, 1 meal or 2 meals, I don't know, if 3 meals a day, guaranteed. Yes, they will be subservient to a master, maybe not too generous, not too liberal, not too good, but at least they would eat. But the point is that if we step back, is the philosophical question: can a human being, a man or a woman, a child, be owned by somebody else as chattel or as animal husbandry, like you own a dog, a cat, or I mean, it's very hard to own a cat, I know, but a horse, a cow, or anything, a goat or a sheep. This is the this is the fundamental question, which I believe everyone will find it atrocious. Your analysis is valid, is relevant. At the same time, let's take it a little earlier. These people who were enslaved in North America, they did not voluntarily came. They did not voluntarily come to North America or to Brazil. In fact, Brazil had more blacks than slaves than North America. They did not come voluntarily. They were brought from Africa. They were enslaved by African chieftains. They were undergoing, you know this thing, I'm just saying for the general audience. They were forced to go packed like animals in these ships for weeks. A substantial percentage of them were dying in traversing the ocean because the condition, hygienic and everything, were terrible, was like hellish. So if you, the basic question about slavery is, can a human being own another human being and sell
The
it?
answer to that is yes.
uh, in the sense that they can, I'm just saying, physically, historically, yes, they can. But is it
Yeah.
acceptable morally, ethically, or spiritually?
Yes.
Okay, that's your opinion, and at least I appreciate
Well, it's
your
not just my
boldness.
opinion, it's Srila Prabhupada's opinion. Like,
No,
literally,
no,
that's
Prabhu,
what he
no,
says.
no,
Yeah.
no. As I said, I hope to have explained, that's not his
Mhm.
opinion. He was criticizing the shift, how these enslaved people were treated or were made, what do you call,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
free
He's
people.
criticizing
And
the shift. He's not criticizing the
no, no, no,
category.
no, no. He's criticizing how the shift is was done. And I invite you to study that conversation. I believe it's an
I
hour
this
conversation, and
Yeah,
in that
I'm familiar with
conversation,
that one. Yeah.
okay, fine. So I invite everyone to study the conversation, and he stresses the lack of education. And
Yeah,
we
he
know,
says controlled or education.
yeah, so if education is not given, imagine you have a person, say you a personal servant in your home. Imagine you have a
Mhm.
personal servant in your home, and
We got two of them.
you're taking
Our children.
you're taking care of them, but they are illiterate. Okay, so one day, due to the whatever government action, police intervention, you have to release them. Just you have to release them, but they have no education. They may end up worse than they were. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is attacking. Is not promoting slavery. Is in a
But
moment of frustration. He says,
but
look,
Prabhu,
if they have to be like this, better they remain slave. That's what he's saying.
exactly. He's not saying this. Yeah, exactly. So what he's saying is slavery is preferable to the current system. Now, I get that that's an atrocious, unacceptable statement for your man in the street today, but he's been brainwashed by asuras who are exploiting people and have created a social structure where they're not taking responsibility. Prabhupada's like, you know what's better than what you have today? Slavery. Like, you know what's atrocious and unacceptable is turning those people out in the street the way they have. That's
So
what Prabhupada's criticizing.
let me understand. So you're saying that African Americans would be better if they were re-enslaved? That's what you're saying?
Now, when with the caveat of when you say enslaved, it's exactly what you're describing. It's taking full responsibility for the maintenance and the care of the person, their engagement, full life cycle, not this idea of like tie them up to a stake and then whip them, which is how slavery is now, propagandized as like that's what it was like. But you just described it. Illiterate house people, the Roman Empire where people were like wanted to be slaves. Yeah. The life of a
Okay.
slave in
So I,
America would have been better than
okay.
an African. Yeah.
Let me ask you another question to understand your position.
Sure.
Uh, you think people should have the choice if they want to be enslaved or not, or should be some sort of mandatory mandatory law or legislation? In other words, the individual can say, okay, I want to be enslaved because it's better than what I'm doing now, or no, it should be obligatory. They had to be enslaved.
Well, that's a detail, right? But even if we went with that people have the option to do it. No, it is. It's a detail of
You
how
see,
that would be implemented.
you
But
see,
slavery is not a bad thing.
you see, Sitaram Prabhu, that's, I mean, you're just demonstrating one of the reasons I love you, because you are uh, boldly outrageous, and you you don't care about public opinion, and you are even willing to, frankly speaking, in this case, misrepresent Srila Prabhupada, what he did in the 12 years in the West, and just to kind of
And,
to support some idea which, frankly, is indefensible. You're
in which way
saying,
am I misrepresenting Srila Prabhupada?
because if you take all the instructions of Srila Prabhupada,
Mm-hmm.
and instead you're taking just one moment of, first of all, you take all the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, you take the usage of language, as I said, very important, it conflicts Shudras. Shudras are not owned by their masters, okay? Uh, if you work for a carpenter, you're not the slave of a carpenter. You can go any time. So he conflates slaves, indented workers, shudras,
Mm-hmm.
even normal employees of a corporation. So he has a very, very particular usage of the language. You take a moment of frustration in which he says, "Look, it was better if they were slaves. If they
That's
had
a
to hang
psychological
around."
that's a speculation. We don't know
No,
what
no,
Srila
no,
Prabhupada's
no,
psychological state is.
no, no,
Yeah,
because
it
no,
is.
we know, no, we know because he said, if you want, I can bring it up. He said, the blacks were slaves before, now they're free, and this is very good. He said those things. He said
Yeah,
those things.
but here's the conversation. We know what he said because it's recorded here.
Okay.
What he was feeling or thinking at the time is a speculation about Srila Prabhupada's psychological state, that he was
No, Prabhu,
frustrated.
no, because that's what he
Where's your
expresses.
evidence? Where's your
Is the
evidence that he's frustrated?
is the English language. If you read what he's saying, that's what he's saying. He's saying, look, this
Shudras to
is
be controlled only. I'll blow it up a bit bigger so it's easier for you to see.
okay.
So, yeah, can you see that?
Okay,
It
yes,
says,
yes.
Shudra is to be controlled only. They are never to be given freedom. Just like in America, the blacks were slaves. They were under control. And since you have given them some equal rights, they are disturbing, most disturbing, always creating a fearful situation, uncultured and drunkards. What training they've got? They've got equal right. That is best to keep them under control as slaves, but give them sufficient food, sufficient cloth, not more than that. Then they will be satisfied.
Okay.
And
So
then he says,
obviously,
either
no,
educate them or
Prabhu.
control them. Yeah.
Okay, Sitapati Prabhu.
Mhm.
I hope we can agree that we cannot take these words literally.
No,
Because
what do you mean? What do you mean? It's like what
okay,
are we going to
I,
invent an interpretation?
Prabhu, no. Let me explain. Let me explain,
Yeah,
because this is very
please.
important.
This is the crux.
I mean, unless you are an employee of Wikipedia or of the people who wrote that article, let me let me explain. It's not a fact that all blacks are most disturbing, always creating a fearful situation, uncultured and drunkards. So obviously, we cannot take this as face value because it's not a fact. Not all African Americans are like that. There are millions and millions of African America who are honest citizens, who are productive citizens of the United States of America. We had the president, Barack Obama. Right now, we have a vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, who is from both Indian and African ancestry. And we have literally thousands and thousands of African American professors, intellectuals, people who contribute to the society, and they're not disturbing and they're not drunkards. So we cannot take those words. And Srila Prabhupada knew that. Srila Prabhupada knew that. We need to
You want to say
understand.
something? Yeah.
We need to understand before Dana Devi. I'm very eager to hear what she says, frankly. Uh, we need to understand one thing when we talk about Srila Prabhupada as an author, as a person, as a spiritual leader, as a person in the public opinion eyes. We need to understand that his use of language is full, it's just a style, it's full of generalizations, it's full of hyperboles. I hope everybody knows what hyperbole means in your
It's like an
listeners.
exaggeration.
Yes, exaggeration. It's like once he said, okay, in Vrindavan, he asked some orange juice, and then I don't know, it took half an hour or something. They say, when I never want anything, when I ask something, you take 300 years. That's a type of hyperbole. No, it's not literal. It's not 300 years, obviously. So throughout, and that was one of the things that came out in my work on this book. Throughout his presentation, Srila Prabhupada is very hyperbolic. He has these overgeneralizations, and then when you go a little deeper, and unfortunately the public doesn't go deeper, but when you go a little deeper, he qualifies, he mollifies, and he modifies his statement. I give you an example. Sometime he said, all scientists are atheists, or something like this. All atheists, all scientists are against God. He says that, things like that. But then in another occasion, he says, no, there are many scientists who believe in God. So obviously, because the opposite would be that Srila Prabhupada was insane. That was the only acceptable alternative. Obviously, Srila Prabhupada knew that many blacks are not disturbing, are not drunkards, are not drug addicts, they're not in gangs. He knew that. At that time, 77, he has spent so many months and years in America. So obviously, we cannot take that as literally. It's obvious.
But at the same time, you said that it's a moment of frustration because he'd been there in America for 10 years and had seen the situation there. And this is based on his observation of the social structure that resulted from the way the shift was managed. So, which one is it? Is there physical,
Srila
empirical
Prabhupada,
evidence for the black people in America being that way or not?
Srila Prabhupada, as a pure devotee, he was frustrated basically with everybody. He was frustrated with the Indians. We could make, I didn't, it's not in the book, but we could make an essay, we could make a paper, probably a book, all the all the expression of frustrations that Srila Prabhupada expressed about the Indians. That they're proud, that they think they know everything, and this and that. And obviously, again, they come under the same category of being hyperbolic, of being overgeneralization. And Srila Prabhupada himself was aware that this is not to be taken literally, because in other circumstances they say he say other things like, okay, Indians are. I'm just paraphrasing. I don't have the quote in front of me, but he also said positive thing about Indians, like Indians are natural devotees of Krishna. He says all the Hindus are devotee of Krishna. I just read it like yesterday. But he also said many heavy criticism of the Indians. So if we are intellectually honest, we need to see the totality of his statements. We need to understand his style of expression, and then we have to make a conclusion. My conclusion, and obviously we can obviously always agree to disagree. My conclusion is that Srila Prabhupada was totally against slavery, the concept that a human being can own and sell another human being. But because he was frustrated how the shift was mismanaged, in a moment, and you have to see the whole context of the conversation, private conversation. In a moment of frustration, you say, okay, No, it was better if we were still slaves. That's my conclusion. Other people may have other conclusion, and think that Srila Prabhupada approved slavery.
Okay, Dana Devi.
When you probably when you were talking about the generalization
Mhm.
of the American or the slavery and good masters, terrible masters, slaves that were good and slaves that become kind of rebellious and very social nature. I guess we can generalize, but at the same time, we can focus on a specific or minority of people that cause too much trouble. In this example where Srila Prabhupada said this, it's better for them to be slaves than causing disturbance. And yeah, there could be a generalization there. I cannot make a kind of like a understanding that I know his mindset of Srila Prabhupada at that time and where his mindset was when he was speaking about it. But the way we read it is our understanding is more like, okay, he was generalized about it. And we can see this in different areas, like you were saying, there are certain areas, criticism about this one, and a lot of like praising in the other areas. Srila Prabhupada was very straight in the point when he was saying, it's better to be a slave as blacks. There's no other way to call them because, they're colored. That's how they call them, blacks. In South America, we have a say like that, oh, if you're going to be this, it's better for you to be like this, It's like if you're gonna misbehave, it's better for me to put you in the military service. Not because the person is right for the military service. It's just like, you know what? You're misbehaving. And the better training for you is in this area. And in this case, Srila Prabhupada was very clear. These guys are troublesome. They're causing a lot of mishaps and disorder here. It's better for them to be slaves with masters that care about for them, not exploit them the way they exploited them before. They just made them like animals and treat them in such a way, which is immoral in my view. Is very immoral.
Well, animals are actually better taken care of. Like a dog that's a stray dog is not like a dog that has a master, right? It's like even treating them now, they're treated worse than animals.
Well, if we make this comparison these days, like you were mentioning about this lady Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, if we study everything about what they're doing behind the curtains or behind their system, they are putting systems that actually are enslaving every single person. You yourself are a slave in this world right now with these so-called very well situated and educated politicians or whatever. Because look at ourselves. We are slaves right now in this system. We earn our money with little money that we have, and then they're taxed it to the brim. And then you are given such a rules and things that you have to follow, and these guys are having fun of it. We are slaves.
So
Not
then,
maybe in the way.
then we don't
not in
need to
the way.
discuss. Then we don't need to discuss if slavery is good or not. We are all slaves. Okay, so can we
Is
move
it, yeah,
to
but the
another
question
topic?
is it good or not? I asked the question: is it good or not to be a slave?
I'd like to move on to Hitler personally, but yeah.
You're asking me if it's good or not to be a slave. That's
Yeah, I'm
what you're
asking you
asking me?
because you're saying like, okay, yeah, a slave is this. It's like, okay, my question to you is it good or bad being a slave? Because right
Okay.
now we are slaves in
You're,
general.
you're giving what you're doing is, and of course, you are entitled to do it. You are using the word slave in a non-dictionary form. In other words, yes, you may say in a we could say figurative way that we are all slaves because yeah, the government harasses us and so many other things. So uh, you are free to use this we could say analogical or metaphorical language, but let's be let's stay with the feet on the ground of in the English language of the dictionary. Slave means that somebody owns you and somebody can uh, restrict your movement. Like you just said at the beginning, you just went to America, you traveled the world. Now, if you were a slave in the literal sense of the dictionary, you could not have done this. If you were a
But
slave,
Kaunteya Prabhu, you know
let,
that
let, let
they
me finish.
restricted.
Let me finish because she asked me a question I need to
Sure.
answer.
Okay.
So, if you were literally a slave, by the dictionary meaning, you'll have a person on top of you who could sell you, literally. Dana Devi, sorry, I'm going to sell you to ABC, the person. And this is not literally true. So if we use a figurative expression, okay, it's a poetic expression, it's a metaphorical expression, but it's not the reality. It's not the reality of the fact. Sita Pati Prabhu.
Yeah. I mean, we've gone to a different point here, but that's okay. I mean, what Dana Davies pointing to here is that we are like restriction of movement. It turns out that they turned the system on and were like, you literally can't leave your house if we say you can't. You can't travel internationally. We had restriction of movement over the last few years that demonstrated that we are living in an open, free range kind of plantation. And as far as selling people, I mean, the International Monetary Fund loans money to the government based on the future taxable income of each of the citizens. So we are being like traded, and our economic output is being traded. The whole system of it, though, is like kind of hidden behind a curtain. But if you peer hard enough into it, you can find where those bars are. But they're mentally conditioned people to think that they're free and that a lot of those bars exist because as you start to get next to them, you start saying things like, that's an atrocious, unacceptable statement. And you mentally edit yourself. I don't actually want to go there. But Srila Prabhupada came over here, and a lot of the stuff that he said is smashing through those indoctrination barriers that people have.
Okay, and in addition to that, the way I'm using the word that I'm using is kind of like not in the literal English way and so on. So another example we can give right now. For you Italian, right? For you to live in India, you need a visa. You're not free. You're not free because free for me means I'm going to this country and I don't need anyone to tell me or anything to restrict me to go in there. And I mind my business here and I mind my business there. We cannot do that.
Srila Prabhupada also criticized that as well, right? About the...
That is freedom for me. But the way this slavery that is not actually that there's a meaning of like, it has like this dark meaning of slavery, like in the previous time where people can just sell you and do whatever they want. If they want to kill you, they can kill you and so on. So they can actually do that now. They actually did that not long ago. With all of these restrictions of like this poison thing injecting yourself and coercing you. If you don't do this, we're going to chuck you out of your work or you cannot work. Like, what kind of freedom is that? I have no choice anymore. I have been coerced.
You never did. It was just coincidental that they would let you think that you did.
Yeah, so you see the psychological operation they have. They don't use the word slavery. They make you believe that you are free, but actually you're not free at all.
Can I comment? You like me to comment?
Of course.
Okay.
No, you're not allowed, Prabhu.
Yeah, because I'm a slave.
Sorry.
So,
You have
are the
no
master.
word here.
Yeah. So
Let's have
yes, I mean, I obviously I never said that we are completely free. We are completely free to do whatever we want. No, there are laws, and some laws definitely make sense for just the organization of a country, such as screening whom you want into the country. But that's a different issue. I mean, you invited me to talk about Srila Prabhupada, public opinion, my book, what are the accusations against me, and so on. But just like you gave an example, I'm an Italian. It's a fact that to live in India, I need permission from the Indian government. So you're saying, well, this is not unrestricted freedom. And yes, literally, yes, it's a fact. It's not unrestricted freedom. But if I was a literal slave in Italy, if I had a master who owned me legally, definitely I couldn't go anywhere. So I find a little bit of a stretch to compare being owned by a person who can sell me on the market, literally, and if I want to live in India, I need to get a visa or some sort of permission from the government. I believe it's a bit of a stretch to compare the two. But I know if you're comfortable with that, you know, there is a
It's
freedom of opinion, right?
yeah. It's interesting.
Do I have a freedom of opinion? That's the question.
Well, you are expressing it right now, right?
It's interesting that the rhetorical move you've chosen here is to equate slavery with like selling someone on the open market, right? Which is, it's not necessarily what Srila Prabhupada is talking about here. Like you
No, of
created it
course. See, slavery, as I
previously.
said, slavery as also what you call a figurative connotation. Like, for instance, Srila Prabhupada spoke about the slavery of the senses. Now,
Mhm.
yes, slavery, we could say a plastic or flexic concept, means completely dominated by someone. So one can be a slave of the tongue or a slave of the stomach or any of the senses. So, yes, but we understand that, okay, if I'm a slave of the tongue because I eat all sorts of things, I'm uncontrolled, it's a metaphorical use, it's an analogical
Okay.
use, it's not a
Sure.
literal or legal use. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's get it back on the court because you challenged me before and you said, well, should people, you want it to be like, okay, how would we implement this in practice? Should people be forced into slavery or can they sell themselves in? Let's apply Prabhupada's thing here. Let's take a look at inner city American cities, very high unemployment, people on fentanyl. And now this is a different situation from when Srila Prabhupada looked at it. It's become not only the black population, but a certain segment of the other white population as well. Now, the people who are in there, sociologically broken, uneducated, on drugs, crime, are they better off if we just leave them there? Or would they be better off if we had like some kind of farming community where these people could come and they could live there and they could work in return for their food and their board and they were fed and they were clothed and they were positively engaged? Wouldn't that be a better social arrangement for them than the so-called freedom of just being dumped in these cities and left to their own
Cer-
devices?
Certainly, but that's what you're describing is not slavery. I believe that the ones you watch your show, they are intelligent
Mhm.
enough to understand that. I mean, we have been at this al- more than half an hour just talking about slavery. I think
Sure.
uh, I think for the sake of the show is clear where you stand, where I stand, so then people
But
can make up their own idea. And I
where does
obviously,
Prabhupada stand
obviously,
though?
I agree. Obviously, I agree. What alternative you gave? Definitely, it's a positive alternative. But you're not talking about slavery. You're talking about
What
basically. You're talking about living in the farm, living in the countryside. You're not talking about slavery. So let's not mix the terms.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm actually defining what Prabhupada means by slavery here. He says sufficient food, sufficient cloth, not more than that. They'll be satisfied, keep them under control. Yeah. So that's what he's describing here. He's not describing selling people on the open market, beating them, tying them to a thing and beating them. He's either educate them or control them. So when they put that thing in the Wikipedia, people read it and think he's advocating selling people on the market, beating them, all that kind of stuff. That's not what he's saying, right? Do we agree on that? Srila
Uh,
Prabhupada's not advocating that.
Srila Prabhupada. Okay, listen. I think that for the sake of the show, in the economy of the
Mhm.
show, it's very clear where you stand and where I stand. if I can use like just one short paragraph. I mean, I just
Yeah.
said what I said. Srila Prabhupada was against all form of slavery of the senses, slavery from the government, slavery of being owned by somebody. And in a moment of frustration, he expressed himself like this in a very hyperbolic, in a very generalized sense. Now, I mean, you're the host. If you want to continue talking about this, obviously, I thought we were discussing many other things.
Oh
I
no,
think,
I can't
I
wait to get
think
to Hitler.
I think your
This is the
point
warm
is
up.
clear. I think my point, I hope, is also clear. So I think
Yeah.
it's a good time to move on. If you
Okay.
allow, you're the host. This
Sure.
is your show.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Hitler.
Let's go to Hitler.
Exactly. The Führer. The only one of the World War II leaders who gets a shout out in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter. Srila Prabhupada mentions him by name in a purport. Okay, so give us the 10,000-foot view of the public opinion of Prabhupada and Hitler.
Okay, I can give you the Wikipedia English edition. Let me just say this is just as a beginning. They're not even too, what do you call, not even too heavy, because they could have said many more things.
We should update it. We should add them in there.
And Wikipedia.
Oh yeah, I see him.
Okay, you see now Hitler and Jews. Swami mentioned Hitler to provide an example of materialistic scheming. He also called him a hero. Sometimes, this is the quote, sometimes he becomes a great hero, just Hiranyakashipu and Kamsa, or in the modern age, Napoleon or Hitler. The activity of such men is certainly very great, but as soon as their bodies are finished, everything else is finished. He held Jews to be responsible for Holocaust. Therefore, Hitler killed these Jews they were financing against Germany. Otherwise, he had no enmity with the Jews. And they were supplying, they want interest, money, never mind against our country. Therefore, Hitler decided to kill all Jews. Okay.
That is literally Hitler's own explanation of what happened. Although the kill all the Jews bits, but yeah.
Okay. So, where would you like to go with this?
Well, I mean, what's wrong with that?
Okay, again, this time there is another element. Before we discussed about the use of language, the context. Now there is another aspect. There is an aspect of inaccurate information that Srila Prabhupada received from
What's inaccurate here? The Holocaust never happened, so Hitler didn't decide to kill all the Jews.
No, I'm talking about Hitler in general. I mean, Srila Prabhupada obviously didn't just say those things. If you go in the Vanipedia or you go database and you put Hitler, you can do it now. I don't know. Maybe there are at least dozens, or
I mean,
maybe
have you
even
read Mein
hundreds.
Kampf? I mean, that's basically what Hitler says in his own book. That's Hitler's own explanation. He's like, these guys financed against Germany. They conspired to get the Americans into the war. They did the Balfour Declaration. He's like, that's what his whole thing is.
Let me understand. So you're
Yeah.
saying that Hitler was justified in killing the Jews
No,
because they were
I'm
controlling?
saying
He's
that this
reading.
is Hitler's own explanation. No, well, let me ask you this question. Why did
Yes.
Hitler do what he did?
Because he was a great criminal. Because he was anything
he's
can be justified.
he's a great criminal. No, he's a great
Any-
criminal because of what he did. But why did
Okay.
he do what he did? What was his motivation?
Yeah, exactly.
How did he justify it? What did he say?
Exactly, Prabhu. I can justify anything. I can justify killing anything, any living entity. I can destroy forests. I can justify anything. That doesn't make it right just because I can justify. I can kill my neighbors. He's
Sure.
making too much noise.
I can
I
hear
can
it.
kill him. I mean, these are the next village. These are our Islamic friends, and no, we have a very good relation. But I'm just saying, I could say, hey, they're too loud. They do their namaz, and I'm
Yeah.
very disturbed. I go there and kill. So the fact that
Okay.
something is, if there is a reason, it's not
Yeah.
just a random act, doesn't make it moral or
But
ethical or
Prabhupada,
acceptable.
the quote doesn't say that it is. It's like if I say, Kaunteya Das, he was angry because his neighbors were making too much noise, so therefore he decided kill the neighbors.
No, but
All I've
if
done
you
is
okay,
just that. All Prabhupada did was state that. That's
okay,
what
but
that quote
let's
says.
no, not no Prabhu, no Prabhu.
Mhm.
It doesn't. Let's go back, and I'll show you how it's not all that says. Okay, let's go back. Okay,
Yeah, bring
share
it back up.
screen. Yeah, I bring it back up. Share
They
screen.
have added
Share.
their own commentary says he held Jews to be
Exactly,
responsible for the Holocaust. Yeah, but Srila
exactly.
Prabhupada doesn't say that. You should go in discussion and say this is a valid quote from Prabhupada, but it doesn't establish what you say it does.
So
Hang on, I
the
just gotta get rid of
topic.
this.
Okay, the topic of this show. The title is Srila Prabhupada and Public Opinion.
Yeah.
Now we have this Wikipedia that
Mhm.
says it doesn't the Wikipedia doesn't say that we will demonstrate that Srila Prabhupada held Jews responsible by this quote. That's not what the author of this article is doing. It's
So
just
you need to
saying
challenge it.
that's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. The reputation of Srila Prabhupada in the public is abysmal. We need to ask if we are his followers, if we are his messengers, if we are the agents of his mission, we need to take action. And you mentioned I'm being accused of this or that. Uh, when devotees, instead of focusing on this, they focus on my book and they write a 70 page paper attacking my book, that's very anomalous. You follow? Exactly. I agree 100%. We need to do something about this. And obviously, I believe you don't accept what the Wikipedia says. He held Jews to be responsible for Holocaust. But
Yeah.
you also know that the average or most readers of the Wikipedia, they're not
Mhm.
going into the logic, oh, well, these three lines after doesn't really prove that he says. No, these three lines just say that, okay, the killing of the Jews in the mind of Hitler was justified. But Wikipedia says that Srila Prabhupada held the Jews responsible. That's the overall message.
So
And
what do you
obviously,
want to do about that?
you mean about this particular Wikipedia article?
Well, this one, let's just look at this thing here. So, Srila Prabhupada's made the statement here. In the Wikipedia, they say, they claim that he holds the Jews to be responsible for the Holocaust,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
a reach. But I mean, I guess, the bottom line here is what do we do about this? What
Well,
are you
yeah.
advocating for?
Okay. There are different what do you call aspects to this.
Mhm.
I'm not at liberty to disclose more details, but there is a plan by ISKCON to address this issue, particularly of Wikipedia. There is a plan. It's still embryonic, so I'm not at liberty to disclose anything more than this. Now, this type, as I said before, this type of statements create two types of problem. One, the general problem about the propagation of Krishna consciousness, the reputation of the Sankirtan movement, and the reputation of the Founder-Acharya, His Divine Grace,
Mhm.
A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That's one aspect. This type of quotes, and there are many more quotes on Hitler, create a lot of pain, agony, and doubt in the minds of devotees. So when you
Well, the
ask,
devotees don't like Hitler, yes, but there are populations in the world where they think he's a great hero. Like in Kerala, for example, they love the guy.
now, devotees are, as we speak, many devotees are suffering. Some devotees are left devotional service, are left bhakti yoga due to this controversial statement. So what you say when you say, "What did you do? What you want to do?" What I did, with all
Mm.
my limitations, with all my shortcomings, what I did, I researched and I put together a book. Like it or not, I put together a book. There is the whole section on Hitler and what Srila Prabhupada said about Hitler. He said something very negative. He was a demon and so on and so forth. He was foolish and all that. He destroyed his country. He said those things, but he also said certain things which are positive. Um, and devotees are very, very disturbed. So, in the book, if you like to go into depth, we can, no problem. I mean, this is your show. I'm your guest, and
Let's pull this section up.
we can pull the section up. And you want to pull? Yeah. So there are. My analysis is this: the things that Srila Prabhupada said, which are not totally negative, like okay, he was a good man or something, are based on a number of factors. One factor is that he, and I can stop sharing. I guess people got the idea.
I got your book here. It's section on Adolf Hitler. I just happen to
Oh,
have it open
okay.
to that section. I'm not saying
Oh.
that I like reading books about Hitler, but I like reading books about Hitler.
Okay. So I mean, obviously, it's a substantial session. I don't think you want to read the whole thing. But my
Is there any
conclusion.
particular part that you want
No,
to that we could?
okay, you can go towards the end. I summarize the reasons why Srila Prabhupada may have said something which is not totally condemning. I identify 6 reasons. So if you go there,
There's a picture of Hitler in there.
yeah, Subhas Chandra Bose. Uh,
Who went to
and
school with Prabhupada?
yeah, it was a year before, but yes, it wasn't the same.
Actually, I was reading this section last night. Yeah.
Acha,
Pardon me.
as a lullaby. Okay, yeah, here.
This is the 6th
Um,
here? Yeah.
Yeah, now, little down, little down. Oh, yeah,
In
yeah, yeah.
conclusion?
Sorry. In conclusion, that's obviously my conclusion, and
Yeah.
everyone can have their own conclusion. Srila Prabhupada openly denounced Hitler as an asura, a demon, and a rascal. On rare occasions, Srila Prabhupada appeared to slightly soften his judgment, granting Hitler a limited degree of humane merit. This was presumably due to number one, having received fictitious accounts on Hitler having the atomic bomb, but refusing to drop it on humanitarian reasons. Okay. Number two,
Could be
Srila
true.
Prabhupada, it's a false information that Srila Prabhupada received. Number two, Srila Prabhupada deep distrust of the British propaganda machine. So basically say, well, they depicted him so bad, but we need to verify, we need to double check. Number three, Hitler's respect for Indian culture. And he adopted this plastic and other things.
Mhm.
Number four, Hitler's role in the Britishers' political, economic, and military decline. In other words, there is the principle that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Srila Prabhupada was very, very angry at what the British did, like artificial famine and so on and so forth, insulting the Vedic culture. So, okay, Hitler stood up to the British Empire, and so that generated some sort of sympathy. And it's 6 actually. By mistake, I put another 5. Srila Prabhupada doubting Hitler's awareness of his lieutenant vicious deeds. In other words, at one point, Srila Prabhupada said, well, maybe he didn't know so much about the Holocaust. They might have kept him in the darkness. So when you see um, these 6 reasons, you can have a sort of reason why Srila Prabhupada did not always and absolutely condemn Hitler like that. And there was another devotee, maybe Yogeshwar Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada disciple, and he wrote an article on Srila Prabhupada and Hitler on the latest ISKCON Communication Journal. He also addresses these issues of what Srila Prabhupada said about Hitler. Now, my point is this. You may agree with me, disagree, or agree only in part. Maybe uh, maybe you believe, you meaning hypothetically, you, not just you or Sitapati Prabhu.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
The reader may not like what I wrote, may say, no, you should have stressed something else, or you should not have said this. Those are all possibilities. At the same time, the issue remains. What Srila Prabhupada said about Hitler, it is puzzling for many people. You mentioned Kerala. Yeah, Indians somehow love Hitler. It's something. It's something that the world may find difficult to understand, but due to historical reasons, due to the just the geographical distance of Europe, Holocaust, the Second World War, at least in Europe, Indians still like Hitler, but the rest of the world does not love Hitler and often takes him.
Apparently, they really like him in Ukraine.
Well, I mean, is the president is Jew? I don't know how much he loves Hitler. Now, so we need to explain first of all to our devotees, and second to the world. We need to have some explanation. Why should the Prabhupada was supposed to be a spiritual person? Obviously, is a spiritual leader of world stature, why he said certain positive thing about Hitler. So it's an issue that we need to face. You may say, no, but the book doesn't do it in the right way. Fine, then somebody else can do it in a better way. Uh, then we'll promote that book or that essay or that paper. We need to address these issues because, again, for somebody let's say the average person in the world, in the Western world, or I would say in the whole world, when he hears that Srila Prabhupada was somewhat sympathetic to Hitler, that could be the end. And you told me you saw the Spanish version. The Spanish version is heavier on Hitler and Srila Prabhupada connection. So.
Mhm.
So these are big issues for our movement because they can destroy the faith of devotees inside, and they can completely delegitimize the Sankirtan movement in the world at large.
Okay. Can I make a couple of comments, observations on that?
You're the boss. This is your show.
Okay. You mentioned that some populations in the world, due to historical, like cultural conditioning, they don't view Hitler in such a negative light.
Mhm.
I mean, the flip side of that is that due to our cultural conditioning, which is pretty much living in the countries that either fought directly against Hitler or in the countries where Hitler lost, the victors write the history. And so we've been culturally conditioned to a particular view of Hitler. So it's like Hitler bad automatically. That's our cultural conditioning. That doesn't make it a reality. It just does make it a real cultural conditioning that we have to manage in some way. And that's what I appreciate about what you're doing, is that you have a particular approach to dealing with that, with those audiences. But I'll tell you, even within these countries, historical revisionism now, people have especially over the last few years, where people are like, hang on a second, man, we're having the wool pulled over our eyes by these people. They're questioning all kinds of stuff, the moon landing, the history of the Second World War, what really happened, all that kind of stuff. So there's also some people who will read what Srila Prabhupada has written and said, this guy is onto it. So those people are out there too. This book is not necessarily for them. It is for the very real large audience that's out there who still, are drinking the Kool-Aid and they're having trouble, taking the Prabhupada pill at the same time. So you've come up with a way of kind of like, and
But
I appreciate the
sorry to interject. Just to clarify, the book is an internal publication. It's written for devotees with devotee language. The book is not. In fact, I didn't put it on Amazon. I didn't put it openly. Just to clarify, the book is for internal consumption.
Oh.
Is written for devotees in a devotee style, and it's just not for. Of course, some, I don't know. Some people may get it in some way, but it's
I
not.
wish you'd told me about that earlier. We printed like 100 cases of it. We've been distributed on the street.
Well, then you have to pay the royalties. Obviously, we'll talk about that after the show.
Sure. Yeah. But like you say, there's well, okay, well, hang on. The thing about that is, on the one hand, you say that, there's a problem with the public perception of Srila Prabhupada, the Wikipedia and everything. Okay, but no, I get it. But that's a broader problem. But then the smaller problem is some devotees are having trouble dealing with that personally in their own practice. And so you've done the work of diving in depth into all the things that Srila Prabhupada said about Adolf Hitler, put them all together there, and then you've developed a thesis about like how they all fit together and sort of what informs that, and then you have this conclusion that you've put together here.
More or less, yes.
Chewing for the babies.
See, just to clarify this point, the audience, because it's central, I write that, in fact, it's even in the back page. Of course, you got the PDF, so maybe you don't even get to the back page. But at the beginning of the book, I say that this book is written for two audiences. One is the devotees who are disturbed by this type of quotes, and second, by the leaders, for the leaders who have to deal with this type of issues. I give you an example. In last May, at the end of May, in Italy, in Villa Brindava, there was the first international conference of all the ISKCON communication devotees, those who specialize in communicating with the media, interfaith, the government, academia, and so on. And it was the first time, because generally they do just a European, but they did the whole world. So they came from all over the world. And one day of those 3 days was just dedicated to these controversial statements.
Hitler
One,
or just
one,
in general?
huh?
Controversial statements about Hitler or just
No,
controversial
Hitler,
statements?
women, the race, and so on. And as I said, the last, at least, I don't know, there may be one more came out, but the last ISKCON Communication Journal has got 3 articles on these issues. One by Ridananda Maharaj, one by Garuda Prabhu, Harvard graduate, and one by Yogeshwar Prabhu, which I mentioned. There was an exercise at one point in which a devotee would play the role of a journalist, not a heavy journalist, not a inimical one, just a journalist who asked questions to these devotees who are experts in communication. And the one who asked the question is my friend. He told me personally. He would ask, I was invited because they knew about this book. I was invited, but I didn't want to go all the way to Italy just for basically one day. So this devotee told me how he asked just questions from different quotes. Okay, your guru says this about women. This guru says this about Hitler. This guru says this about blacks. This guru. So it was like a role play. And he said that basically only one devotee could actually manage good answers which are kind of acceptable, at least from the communication point of view. Many floundered very serious, and some people like barely kind of make it, that kind of survive. So this is to emphasize the audience is devotees were affected emotionally, spiritually, in terms of faith, and also leaders who may not be affected, but they need to explain, because it can happen any day that somebody invites you to television, or just puts an article out, and you got to explain why Srila Prabhupada said those things. So it's a contribution that I I felt was needed to be done. But if there is a better book around, I'll promote that.
Something you want to say?
No,
This point. Okay. Do you want to take a look at another one? Another one. Have we got time to do one more?
It's up to you. I can go. I can go more. I can go. I kept my schedule open because I know that sometimes the show expands and
Yeah. I mean, these are not. I guess one thing. Let's ask this question, because some devotees are going to look at this, and I don't hear this in what you're saying here, but like, are you like, this is the only way to understand and present Srila Prabhupada? Like, this is the correct understanding? I mean, yeah. Would you say that?
no, obviously not. I, I I believe there are certain what you call common denominators that, like for instance, I believe we could agree, as if we identify as followers of Srila Prabhupada. I believe we can agree that he's a great acharya. First of all, he's a founder-Acharya, which is a fact. It's beyond
Mhm.
opinions. He's the founder-Acharya. He did something that no other Acharya ever did, which is transplant Krishna consciousness, Vaishnavism in a pure form in all over the world. Okay, he translated the Bhagavatam, he brought it, he opened. We know, but it's good to remind ourselves. He opened 108 temples. He initiated 4,000 or more disciples. He translated the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. We commented, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, other books. He traveled all over the world. He was never defeated in any debate with scholars, religionists, or journalists of any kind. And he basically is a very, very shining, bright light in the Sampradaya. Hmm? Uh, so I think we can all agree on that. He was a very empowered. I personally believe he was a Shakti Visha avatar, meaning he was a living entity empowered by Krishna, by Lord Chaitanya, to achieve some unprecedented results in terms of spreading the Bhagavata culture, the holy name. And I mean, these are facts. So you see how many hundreds and thousands of people chant the Hare Krishna, and this is primarily due to Srila Prabhupada's effort, Srila Prabhupada's efforts, and then by extension, his disciples, his followers, uh, those he trained, and those he inspired, those he illuminated. And of course, we can go on. I mean, we could go on. He challenged this material civilization in a very, very, very bold way. I love when he goes no dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, which is basically, maybe it's a direct quote from the Bhagavatam, second canto. And but interestingly, if you go through all the criticism of Srila Prabhupada in the net, and there are tons, just in English, what to speak of many other languages. If you go through all the criticisms, basically nobody has a problem with dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. The problem is Hitler. The problem is almost gay statement. The problem is women. Huge, huge issue, huge obstacle. Obstacle meaning huge obstacle for many people to accept Srila Prabhupada
Maybe a
as,
challenge.
yeah, it was a big challenge. And what he said about race, what about blacks, those are the issues. When people when Srila Prabhupada challenges the material society, even in very no dogs, hogs, camels, and asses, and he explained why dogs, why hogs, why camels, and why asses. I at least I did not encounter anybody who has a problem with that. It's pretty self-evident that this civilization is in shambles. You ask, well, everybody should agree. If I guess if you are a follower of Srila Prabhupada, I guess everything I said on Srila Prabhupada, or most of what I said, I think we would agree. Just by defining ourselves as followers of Srila Prabhupada. He fulfilled the instruction of his guru in a very successful way. And this is recognized not only by devotees, but also by academics and so on. He was extremely prolific in his output, not only his books, some say 7,000 letters, and all the lectures, and on the conversation, and on the interviews. It's a huge body of knowledge and documentation that he left, and some academics readily acknowledge that many founders of religious movement don't have that. Jesus, we don't really know what he said, and in the Bible there is very little what he directly allegedly said. It's in a different language. Buddha, it took, I hear, under 50 years to get some sort of canons of what Buddha actually said. Even Mohammedan, of course, they didn't have tape recorders, and it took a long time to clarify the hadiths, what actually the prophet said, what is bona fide Islamic doctrine and what is not. But the scholars agree that, okay, Srila Prabhupada's, I mean, we have videos, we have record audios, we have tons of books, we have the original transcripts and so on. So even from the historical point of view, his contribution, academic and historical point of view, his contribution is enormous and extraordinary. And I believe if we identify as followers, we should accept that.
Okay, I've got one
Now,
here that
now, as you said, now how we apply that knowledge, like for instance, say if Srila Prabhupada was today with us, would he support gay marriage or not? That obviously it's open to discussion, because Srila Prabhupada is not with us. When he was there, when he left this world, it took another, I believe, 25 years before any country accepted legally that same-sex marriage can take place. So that remains obviously a point of debate, a dispute, a different opinion, and there are different opinions. That's so to say an example. So I have my opinion, other people have other opinions. We can
okay,
discuss.
let's take a look at it. So this one here I pulled up. I haven't read this section. Same-sex parenthood. Hitler, Prabhupada talked about it. The race, the blacks, the Prabhupada quote. I don't know of any place where Prabhupada talked about same-sex parenthood, right? But obviously this is a current social issue. And so now people are like, what's your take? So this is that what this section is? This is like, hey, here's a Prabhupada-esque, what would Prabhupada do? What would Prabhupada do? WWPD section about same-sex parenthood. Is that what this is?
Yes. In other words, well, I don't remember exactly literally what's in this section. There is, we could read if you want. Some will be based on what he said. Some will be based on other research, other considerations.
Okay, let's have a look at it.
Sure.
So it says homosexuals can't produce children on their own, but in dozens of countries they can adopt them. Wouldn't raising a Krishna-conscious child within a stable, responsible, monogamous gay matrimony measure up to the same commitment within a heterosexual marriage? Srila Prabhupada said, to become father and mother is not restricted. That is nature. You become father of hundreds children. Lecture on Bhagavad Gita 7:7, Bombay, 1 April 1971. Isn't parental affection, emotional nurturing, and spiritual training the essence of Krishna-conscious parenthood, regardless of the biology of conception? Isn't the raising of children in Krishna consciousness the quintessence of devotional motherhood and fatherhood? Many heterosexual Vaishnava couples adopt children, which then they then fully consider as their children, offering the same love and affection as if they were biologically theirs. Legal status of adoption by same-sex couples by country. I remember this was my main conversation with Krishna Kirti back in 2010 or so, was about this. He was like, no, absolutely no. I was like, dude, it's not a question of yes or no, because it's going to happen in the future. It'll be put into law. What are we going to do about that is the actual question. So I'm very interested in this. Okay, so it's legal in New Zealand where we live, in Australia where we spend a lot of time, the bottom of South America there. What's that, Argentina? No,
Chile.
no, down here. Oh, that's in
No,
Africa. I'm looking at the wrong country.
Yeah.
South Africa, Brazil by the look of this, Chile, Argentina. Okay,
Peru.
North America. Yeah. Same-sex marriage doesn't preclude the experience and expression of parenthood. Joint adoption by same-sex couples is legal in 27 countries. Wikipedia explains. Furthermore, some form of stepchild adoption is legal for same-sex couples in 5 additional countries. Given that constitutions and statutes usually do not address the adoption rights of LGBT persons, judicial decisions often determine whether they can serve as parents, either individually or as couples. Of states that permit same-sex marriage, most allow for joint adoption by those couples. Opponents of adoption by same-sex couples have argued that LGBT parenting adversely affects children. However, research consistently shows that gay and lesbian parents are as fit and capable as heterosexual parents, and their children are as psychologically healthy and well-adjusted as those reared by heterosexual parents. That's the whole section? There's no...
Yeah, that's the whole section on that.
There's no prescription in there. You're just kind of asking a question. You're sort of leading... Okay. Leading the readers thinking.
I support. No, I support, definitely. I support adoption by same-sex with proper, of course, with proper conditions, with proper screening and everything. But I'm certainly supportive, and I think it's clear. I use questions, but mostly are rhetorical questions. You know, it's like, isn't that the essence of Krishna conscious parenthood, to make children Krishna conscious? So those are rhetorical questions. Yeah, I definitely support that.
Okay, interesting. So we would have functionally the same position, but worlds apart. I don't support it at all. But I do say that everyone who does have a same-sex adopted children should raise them in Krishna consciousness. So it's slightly kind of different.
The other thing that I would be questioning.
Can I just say, my point is that the parental rasa, we could say, the vatsalya bhav, even in the human nature, is natural. It's natural in heterosexual couples, and it is natural and spontaneous in many same-sex couple. So far, research has not demonstrated that there is anything negative. We know that there are so many orphans in the world, that there are so many children, and these wars are creating more and more orphans every day. I know you follow the news, so you know what I'm talking about. So definitely, instead of living as an orphan, as an uncared person, being a child of a same-sex couple, either gay or lesbian, obviously it's a great advantage. Obviously, if the parents are responsible, as you said, even better if they are Krishna conscious. Sorry, Dana Devi, I just wanted to make that clarification.
That's okay. You're forgiven. The question about the research, I would be questioning the research, because there are certain researchers that they don't actually are truthful in their research. They are trying to get the way they want to get through the research.
It's from Wikipedia. We know how accurate Wikipedia is. They think that Prabhupada supports the Holocaust.
I will question that research.
Every intelligent person should no doubt is a function of intelligence, obviously. I would not expect anything less from you.
The other thing I could think about this is like, okay, children grow because according to the research, children grow psychologically healthy and well adjusted. It's like, okay, so a child that maybe they are infants, they don't remember about any of their female and male dynamics there. and they grow into this. It's basically psychologically subdued to follow, like, I am the mother, I am the father. But the reality is, when you go outside your home, you see this woman with the pieces of a woman has, and then the man, and then you have in your house these two guys, one more feminine and the other one masculine. I will question, well, these researchers, and understand more about the psychological being of these children. For sure, I'm sure there are like some occasions, I would say, that some couples are emotionally stable as a gay couple to bring up these kind of children, and what to speak when it comes to the Krishna conscious world, where the understanding is completely different. But in the worldly way, I will be questioning, like, okay, so how will these children grow
Well,
as that?
yeah, I mean, I have even like, it's the old safe and effective, after 3 months of research thing. What happens 3 generations deep to a civilization that normalizes or promotes this? That's another question that, it's kind of like, it's an experiment. But I mean, from a perspective of Krishna's design of the universe and the biology of it, like, the Grihastha ashram is the combination of 2 living entities, male and female, or more. Prabhupada, that's a whole. Have you got a section in here about polygamy as well? You must. You can't have missed that out.
I do.
If you got same-sex parenting, you have to have polygamy.
I do.
But yeah, and then the purification comes from having the children, and then they biologically reproduce, and like there's a kind of like a matching between material nature, the physical biology, and then social and spiritual life building on top of that. And then this is at scale, a perversion of that would lead to a perverted social structure.
You'd like me to comment on that?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, as we see, before we started this particular topic, the premise was there are certain things for which we could all agree, and there are certain things in which will take much more dialogue, much more debate, much more research. I certainly would not expect the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to make a policy statement just on this very short section I wrote. Certainly, I mean, this is my understanding of this particular topic. It's not treated in great detail, as you could see. We just read it in a couple of minutes, and these are some of the things that will need very, very much deeper dialogue. And you are contributing to this dialogue. Both of you said different things. We should do more research, maybe better research. We should consider long term, and I agree. So yeah, there are certain things that will take much more dialogue. Definitely, I agree.
Yeah. And pragmatically, this is what I was looking at. You've got your preaching center, your temple, whatever. The same-sex couple comes and they have 2 adopted children, or through surrogacy or whatever, they might have 2 children. Like, I have a friend who's lesbian couple, and they've had 2 children. Each of them has born one of those children, so they're not adopted children. They're biologically their children, right?
Yes.
And you have those people come to the temple. Now, what do? Do you just tell them you're an abomination to nature? And it's like Prabhupada's one of his basic principles was just add Krishna, right? And so they come there. It's the way the society's going. And if you look at Srila Prabhupada, he was like this contradiction of super conservative and super liberal. And so you can find both of those statements. You can find Hitler was a great hero and he was a demon. You can find in every single thing. Slavery, they should have kept the blacks as slaves. And then it's good that you became free, and now you left here as slaves. Now you came back as masters. And then we're not the body. So you got like all of that. And then how do you apply that? What are you going to say to that couple? You're going to tell them to just add Krishna. Raise your children as Krishna devotees. I wouldn't. Yeah. Pragmatics.
So we are on the same page then. in that particular
Well, with the
case.
exception that you say you made the statement that you support, I wouldn't support making that a legal thing in the country if I were running it.
Sure, that's why I'm saying we need more debate. You may know that just yesterday, the Supreme Court of India uh, made a sentencing because there was a proposal to legalize same-sex marriage, and
Mm.
there were many corollary aspects like adoptions and this and that. Now, the Supreme Court of India basically said we cannot make laws. We can only interpret laws. It's up to the parliament to make a law. So basically, they said we cannot decide one way or another. But some groups, LGBTQ plus groups, they were not too disappointed because there were some openings in the court ruling, Supreme Court in India. I remember in India just 5 years ago, it was criminalized. Just homosexuality was criminalized because they still had this British norm still hanging there in the law books. But anyway, so but there were different openings, including adoption. So the community obviously was not super happy about the decision, but they were not even totally disappointed. Now, obviously, we know that it's not just either the same sex or homosexual parenting or heterosexual parenting. Everybody's different. You may have a very, you could say, loving, caring, Krishna conscious homosexual couple, and you may have a terrible heterosexual parents. I mean, I don't have to get into examples and so on. So
Mhm.
obviously, that's just one aspect, just one factors. But I agree that obviously before this should become a policy or not a policy will require much more what do you call discussion. Since in ISKCON, those who are interested in ISKCON law, um, ISKCON policy paper, and so on, right now there is no such policy paper. ISKCON doesn't say anything to his followers. Individually, this temple president may think this, and the other temple president may that, and even say this or that to the congregation. Mm, just like you gave an example. Okay, they come to my temple. What I say? Okay, but as ISKCON, there is no policy, there is no banning, there is no prohibition. So it's a fact that devotees who are homosexual couples in those 27 countries, there may be more now after I published the book, but in those 27 countries, they are allowed to adopt children, and there is no ISKCON official policy banning them or banning the practice. So,
Mm. On the matter of decriminalization, I had a conversation with a gentleman here
German
in the
with
small
the German.
a gentleman.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, here in the small rural town we live last year, and he was saying to me he's a libertarian, but then he said that he campaigned against the decriminalization of homosexuality in New Zealand when it happened, and I said that sounds crazily contradictory to me, because would not a libertarian position be, you do you, right? And this is what he said to me. It was a very interesting point he made. He said, no, the reason is that it was criminalized here in New Zealand, but people didn't get prosecuted for it. What you do in your own home, it's like your business, right? But he said what the criminalization did is it stopped proselytization. So they weren't, having parades and recruiting people into it as a lifestyle. It was like, it was used to kind of limit it to its own kind of like private sector within society. So I thought that was interesting, in the same way that things like, meat eating, intoxication, prostitution, even heterosexual sex life are all regulated in Vedic society, that the criminalization of homosexuality with like the enforcement at the public level but not at the private level was an interesting mechanism within these societies for the regulation of that as a social phenomenon.
Yeah, everything can be misused, obviously. Uh, Everything can be done in the three modes of nature, in sattva, rajas, or tamas, anything. You can have the heterosexuality expressed in sattva guna through marriage, through faithful vows, through loyalty to one's spouse. In passion, just, uh, promiscuity and looking for partners. In tamaguna, being violent, raping people for one's own personal pleasure. So obviously, it's not just a question of heterosexuality is good or heterosexuality is bad. Anything can be good or anything can be bad. You can have, as you mentioned, and I repeat because to emphasize, you can have homosexuals who are very responsible parents, very responsible citizens, very regimented and controlled and disciplined uh, parents and people. And you can have homosexuals who are really out there to prey on younger and younger and younger and younger people. So yes, you have the whole range, and the government needs to see what's the best policy for the country.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
you may say that if they criminalize homosexuality, then we are all slaves.
We're all slaves anyway, either to our senses or to dharma.
Mm. Regarding your, your support in this, we are in Kali Yuga, and the only thing is going to happen is just degrade and degrade and degrade, with a window of these 10,000 years of golden age time. When I think about it, it's like, okay, if I support this group, and I know that I'm in Kali Yuga and the degradation is coming, like, for example, in the time that I was born, which is no long ago, now I have to deal with all of these new sex thing, LGBTQT, whatever. Or like, it's kind of like a surprising to me in a short time of my lifetime. God
It
knows
has accelerated, hasn't
it
it?
is
Crazy.
accelerated. It's Kali Yuga, and it's very explicit how Srila Prabhupada said it. In Kali Yuga, own parents will be raping their own children, eating their own children, and so on and so on. Like, when you think about it, do you think this thing in Kali Yuga, some people that are in this group, there will be these
Well, sorry, which group?
idealistic
Which-
parents, this LGBTQT, whatever
Oh,
is
okay.
the alphabet is there. Do you
Sure.
think in Kali Yuga, where their mindset is, their confusion they are in, with a lot of psychological issues they're going through, do you think there will be these idealistic parents that you dealing, Hare Krishnas, or, well brought up people, males who identifying as whatever, and bring up this child in a stable psychological family environment? I don't think so, because then as a human beings themselves, they are dealing with a lot of issues here. They're confused from their previous life issues that now is coming to fruition right now. How are they going to be stable?
There's only one way, through Krishna consciousness.
So, of course, you gave your answer too, but I think you still want me to say something, right?
100%. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just throwing that in
yeah,
there.
because
Yeah,
you're the one
it's
who is supporting this.
yeah. But at the beginning, I just said that you need proper screening in proper cases, in proper conditions, just like any heterosexual couple adopting children. I'm sure in New Zealand, the government, whatever agency of the government deals with that, they check the parents, either homosexual parents or heterosexual parents. My point is not that. Uh, it's necessarily that one sexual orientation parent will be better than another sexual orientation parent. There are so many crazy things going on also on heterosexual families. Like you mentioned, there are parents who rape the daughters and things like that. So it's not just a dichotomy. Oh, can a heterosexual do this? Can homosexuals do that? Depends on the individual. There are different individuals with different levels of responsibility, different levels of maturity, of civilized behavior. My point is this: it's true. What you say is true. There is an acceleration, especially about sexuality. There are issues that when we were children, they were not existing. Right? We never heard about those things as children. It's a fact, it's a challenge. But there are two aspects I want to emphasize. First of all, we are supposed to be a Brahminical society, a Brahminical organizational, a Brahminical movement. We should give answers to people, and we should give answers to the questions of people. And people are thinking about these things, transgenders' rights. In many countries, like New Zealand, you said is already low, so it's like already old hat. But transgenders' right, can minors, uh, transgender, and so on. We need to have some opinion. Now, I'm not saying every devotee should think 24 hours a day about this, but if we want to be the Sankirtan movement, if we want to be the Brahminical movement who gives light, we need to have some opinion because people want to hear, and there will be a growing audience that people want to know what the Hare Krishna think about these things. And right now, we don't have a common policy. This is one thing I want to emphasize. We need to talk about this thing because we are supposed to guide society. The second thing is that obviously homosexuality is not a new phenomenon. Is there according to the Bhagavatam from the beginning of creation when these Rakshasas attack Brahma. Huh? And if you see in traditional Indian culture, I put two pictures from Khajuraho where homosexual acts are depicted on temples. So there is the whole description. There is all mostly I quoted Amara Prabhu, the Srila Prabhupada disciple, who leads the Galva, the Gay and Lesbian Galva Vaishnava Association. He made a lot of research, and he describes, and I quoted in the book, the different attitudes towards homosexuality in India. And these sculptures and other scriptural texts, legal texts, demonstrate that it was part of Indian culture. Now, it also demonstrated that there was some sort of punishment for this type of action. But for instance, one traditional ancient Indian text say that for homosexual acts, the punishment was to take a bath with all your clothes, which means it's not a big deal. I mean, can you imagine? It's like, okay, paying for a parking ticket or something. You, especially in India where it's hot, you take a bath with all your clothes. Big deal. So it obviously was not accepted as divine or sacred, but it was certainly not like a Mahapapa or was not like a major social concern. They were much more concerned. They were much more concerned about mixed marriages and mixed conceptions because they would degrade the whole caste system, the whole birth system. What they no the Varna Sankara. When we say unwanted population, the first chapter,
Eugenics. Yeah.
Varna Sankara literally means the mixing of the Varna. That was much bigger concern than some homosexual acts in the kingdom. So both things we should consider. Homosexuality is not new, and we need a policy. And I agree 100%. We need more dialogue. We need more dialogue, more research.
I remember reading a part about this homosexual. I think that was by in the book of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Yeah, where it touched a part of the homosexuals, how they were very focused on their spiritual evolution, and they're only mixed between themselves.
That's also in the Tritiya
Yeah.
Prakriti book as
But-
well. And they went to Lord Chaitanya's birth, right?
Yeah. But right now we have to observe this. almost homosexuality now, or is all LGBT, is basically, it's a freedom to be mixing freely without restriction. And now they're infiltrating that knowledge, or the
Propaganda.
forcing the propaganda in the schools. That is not safe.
Can I just make
If you want to be gay, be gay in your own house. I don't care. But you know what? Don't push your way of being into another person. You deal with your business. I deal with my business. Okay? End of the story. Live your life the way you want to live, but just don't make it such a fuss of it.
Right.
And what to speak coming to the school of my child and saying, oh no, actually, did you know you're not actually a female, you are male? What the heck is that?
Mhm.
That is Kali Yuga. So do I want to support that? No. If a person wants to be gay, be gay. I have no problem. I have friends that are gay, that are awesome. But you know what? Don't shuffle my throat about who you want to be, and be accepted who you want to be. Just be happy for who you are. End of the story. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Yeah,
but just a clarification. I agree that obviously there shouldn't be a propaganda towards a transgenderism, or one thing is what you call acceptance, one thing is propaganda. Obviously, there are many different what you call ways of living one's sexuality. Uh, One clarification, you said if you want to be gay, be gay. It's not really a choice. Just like I'm an heterosexual and I assume you both are heterosexuals, it's not a choice that we made. It's not a choice to say, okay, I want to be heterosexual. It's not a choice to decide, okay, I want to be gay. It's the nature of people, it's the acquired nature, guna, karma, psychophysical nature that people have. Just a small clarification, a footnote.
Sure. Yeah. One thing that seems clear, and from that conversation I had with the gentleman here about the decriminalization, I'd never thought of it in this way before because I'm kind of libertarian as well. But even the taking a bath, what I hear there is tolerance and disapproval. There's a very clear stance there that, hey, this is a thing, it happens, we're not going to burn you at the stake, but also we are going to publicly acknowledge that this is not the gold standard. So it's not the kind of propaganda we have today where it's like gay, straight, it's all the same. It's like, no, and this is in a society where they have like strict varnas and all this kind of stuff. And they also signal very clearly fines, take a bath, whatever it is, no big deal. We're not going to burn you, stone you to death or anything, but we're also not going to, have the drag queens, leading the sermon in the church necessarily, or, say that the gays are exactly the same. So these societies seem to have kind of like limiters in place because, as you say, acquired nature, guna and karma. So those two things are there, guna and also karma as well. So people can create acquired natures and they create futures as well. And at a social, societal level, anyway, it's getting into the kind of discussion that you say we need to be having, which is like, once we seize control of these countries, how are we going to govern them?
Yeah,
That's the question.
but even now, as brahmanas, as pastors, what we tell to the people who ask, one thing, one thing I'm sure you agree with. We started this discussion on because you read from my book a short section on adoptions by gay couples, by same-sex couples, and in principle, depending on the proper screening, depending on the proper condition, depending on the proper maturity of the parents, I'm in favor. Okay. Now, all these other things that you brought, let's clarify. This is not something that we read from my book, drag queens, propaganda schools, this and that. So,
Yeah.
if we want to talk about what I say in the book, okay. But I agree with you, with your conclusion. We need to talk about these things and see what should be our stand as a Krishna conscious society. I agree. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge because of a number of factors, such as, again, political correctness, public opinion, in some case, conflicting research. the medical establishment interests, monetary interests in getting even all the children into transgenderism and so on. There are many issues. And if we are supposed to be the leaders of society, spiritual leaders, philosophical leaders, theological leaders, social leaders, we need to discuss what kind of leadership we want to give. I
Yeah,
think we agree on this.
No, I think we actually have a difference here.
A lot of difference.
Because, and even maybe a difference here, but for me, like I acknowledge that they have same-sex marriage in these countries. I'm not an advocate for it. I just acknowledge that it's happening. I'm not
Okay.
for it or against it, but if they come, I'm like, they should chant Hare Krishna. And if you have these couples, whether they're heterosexual, homosexual, children, they need to add Krishna consciousness, and that's what we're doing. But if I took control of the country, and if I speculate about what I do then, based on like the Shastra and the principles in there, it's criminalized. Homosexuality is criminalized.
No, but
You
okay,
gotta take a
okay,
bath,
okay,
you
wait,
gotta pay a
wait,
fine.
okay, wait a
Yeah.
minute, wait a minute.
Mhm.
We are talking about adoption by same-sex couples. Are you saying that in the
Mhm.
Shastra that's criminalized? I don't know of any Shastra saying that.
No, what I'm saying here is that where we have the same-sex adoption by same-sex couples is in countries where homosexuality is decriminalized.
Of course.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't have same-sex couple adoption where homosexuality is criminalized. So
Of course not.
homosexuality is criminalized in the Shastra, as you said before. Fine, take a bath. It's not stoning people, but it is criminalized. So the idea that there will be same-sex couples and then marriage of those. Now, outside of the Dvija, maybe there is something like that, but inside the Dvija, they don't have those. If you do that, you're outside of the mainstream, and so those people would have their own sector of the town where they lived.
Okay, see, if it's the terms, obviously the terminology, especially when we talk about jurisprudence, when we talk about laws, obviously the language becomes very technical, very specific, very complex. Now, if you say, okay, it's criminalized, now I may also say that, okay, in the Krishna conscious society, sex, even within marriage and even within heterosexual marriage, if it's not intended for procreation, you may say that's also criminalized by some. So we need, when we talk about laws, look, it's a very
Well,
complex
no,
thing.
that's not
I agree.
criminalized.
I agree 100% that we should, if we want to offer leadership to the society, we should have this dialogue. Maybe not today, and
Sure.
or in this obviously not. Maybe this may or may not be the best forum, but there are many what do you call many factors. And again, as I said before, I think the viewers got the idea where you stand. They got the idea where I stand. And if I'm not sure, but if we disagree, because I'm not sure, I didn't hear some very fundamental disagreements. But if we disagree, then okay, we can agree to disagree. And
Well, yeah, I think we agree on that. In the
we
societies where
agree
they've made
of
it
adding
legal,
Krishna. I think we agree
adding
100%
Krishna.
of adding
Yeah.
Krishna. So yeah.
We,
So
we might
wherever
we
you
might
are,
disagree about
wherever you
what to
are,
do when you're in charge of the country. We might disagree on that.
yes, we might. After obviously a much longer discussion, we might disagree.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also taking control of the country would also be a precondition for that. Yeah.
Putting Krishna in the center into these minority groups with these
adding
sexual
Krishna,
preferences means there are some boundaries there. Krishna consciousness means there are some regulations there. So that means there is standards, there is boundaries there. It's not just like you free to do whatever I want or to whatever for you to do. Be free. I don't think so. So there is even like you were mentioning before, even as a grihasta couple, male and female, there are some regulations. And I don't think this group will be basically free to be
It's like
and
a
do
hi-
whatever they
it's like a
want.
hierarchy.
Yeah, there
It's a
is that.
hierarchy.
Yeah. And it's quite simple. You want to be parent
Okay.
or you want to be gay, whatever, you know what? There is 4 regulatory principles to follow. End of the story. Do you have an
Okay.
issue with that? Well,
I want to clarify. I want to clarify this
Hmm.
point. You see, Krishna consciousness, obviously, everybody is taking at different levels. Obviously, if one from any sexual orientation or gender identification, if somebody wants to be initiated, like you said, rightly, there are 4 regulatory principles. At the same time, there are levels of practice of Krishna consciousness that people can adopt without adopting the 4 regulatory principles. Like I'm sure, I hope we agree that if somebody today is eating meat, you're not against them chanting Hare Krishna, starting chanting the Maha Mantra. So yes, at different levels of commitment, there are different levels of restrictions. But in terms of adding Krishna to wherever you are, you can be a butcher. Obviously, it's not recommended, but you can be a butcher in New Zealand and start chanting Hare Krishna or start reading Srila Prabhupada books. In fact, we sell these books to butchers too, sometimes with
Mhm.
great enthusiasm because we know they're in a very bad condition. Like I know, like you said, you have friends who are gays. I know devotees who are homosexuals, both men and women, and I know them at all levels of we could say ISKCON hierarchy or ISKCON commitment and so on and so forth. So I agree with you. Yes, certain levels, initiation, what to speak of second initiation, there are rules. It's not a free for all, but adding Krishna, adding the Maha Mantra, adding the Bhagavad Gita, uh, that can be at any level. That can be at any level, even if one doesn't follow even one regulatory principle. And I'm sure this is also your policy, right? Somebody wants to chant Hare Krishna, you encourage them.
I would
Exactly.
encourage people to be gay, though.
But it's no question of encouraging or discouraging. It's just like encouraging or discouraging somebody to be heterosexual. It's not a choice. It's not. There's no evidence whatsoever that it's a choice. Some people have that sexual orientation, which not does only include sexual attraction, the physical sexual attraction, but it also means romantic attraction. So the desire for companionship, desire for affection, intimacy, and some people have that. And it's not really a question of encouraging or discouraging anyone. But I agree.
Mm.
I also will not encourage anybody. I see a heterosexual man. I'm not going to preach to him, "Hey, you should become gay." Obviously, I think we are on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we encourage people to, whatever it is that they're doing, make progress from there. Aryan means one who knows the progressive values of life,
Exactly. Exactly.
first edition.
And therefore, going back to the original section of the book, I believe that in terms of progress in life and devotional service for responsible same-sex couples, adoption could be a very, very favorable and conducive situation. But you know, uh, that's just me. I
Hmm.
mean, not just me, but at least I think among us three, it may be just me.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean,
Totally.
I would criminalize it, not stone people or anything like that. And then they could do those kind of things. People could preach to them, but it would not be recognized on the same level as heterosexual, biological. That's, there's kind of two things side by side. There's like Krishna consciousness. Anyone can be Krishna conscious, add Krishna consciousness. You can be a guru if you're a female. It doesn't, like the one that's always quoted, Janava Mata. It's like there's no impediment to the actual expression of it, and there's also a social structure with like a hierarchy and particular traditional roles, and then there are exceptions to that as well. So I'd make it exceptional.
There is a comment here, like that reminds me about Srila Prabhupada. There was this personality, you may remember it,
Which one?
where he was a gay person, and obviously as a gay person he's engaging in these sinful acts with men, and well, bodily as a man, and Srila Prabhupada says, what an awful place to be in, and chant, and don't get yourself more into sinful activities.
He also told one, said, just find a nice boy and like settle down together.
Because there's in the mind, I have to say, I observe as well through my work and
What's your work? Just
I'm a registered nurse.
Acha.
I observe a lot of like sexual issues, sexual diseases because of that. The mind is too corrupted. The senses are so wild, they just get into activities that are basically degrading themselves so much. And especially here in Kali Yuga, the only way people can find themselves at least having some connection is through sexual acts. And they get more disturbed because they're jumping from partners to partners. They're in pain, they're feeling depressed, or they're anxious or whatever. Through sexual relationship, they get into this, and then they're in a worse situation. The mind is not peaceful. And then now promoting these people to, in that state, to be, it's okay for you to be a parent, I will be like, nah, sorry, emotionally not stable to bring up a child in that condition. And I wouldn't be promoting even that person to, to be that choice. It's like, it's just make them understand through education, through the scriptures, this is what happens in your past life. You choose to be in this lifetime days, and this is the consequences what you feel going through. What can we do now? So either chant to pacify your mind, you either focus in your destiny as what it is, accept as what it is, and concentrate in something that is more powerful in your life. And let's see where do you go with this.
Yeah, but
I agree.
It's a lot of psychological work. I have to say, it's a lot of psychological work. It's not an easy thing. It's easy to say.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Some same-sex couples are just not qualified to adopt children, and also some heterosexual couples are just not qualified to adopt children. So it's not just the orientation, it's the person, the maturity, the responsibility. Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Some homosexual couples are not ready to, or some are not even willing or desiring to adopt children. It's similar, some heterosexual couples are not ready to adopt children.
It's what's crazy is we've gone in 13 years. Krishna Kirti's up in the comments. He's like his position on this is well known. Adoption by gay couples out of the question. I mean, we've gone from, in 2010, Krishna Kirti and I were discussing what about gay marriage, and my position was it's going to happen, right? And what are we going to do about it when it does happen? How are we going to position ourselves in the world? and I couldn't have predicted that in 13 years from there, in 26 countries, same-sex couple
27.
adoption would be the thing.
Uh-huh.
It's like the acceleration is huge.
And I bet my daughter in 20 years time or 30 years time, she will be dealing with fathers raping, and
if you look in there, you can
bringing children to do this kind of acts, raping their own children. I tell you that is possible to happen. Most likely that's going to happen because we are in Kali Yuga. Even Srila Prabhupada already.
It's happening now.
It's already happening. Even Srila Prabhupada Even Srila Prabhupada already told about this 60 years ago as warning, 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 warning. Kali Yuga is going to happen this. This is the way you get yourself out of this. And then guess what? We're now talking about this in this conversation, gay couples, adoptions, LGBTQT, and all the alphabets that may go with this. It's like, wow, I cannot believe it.
Yeah. Can I just here? I
Sorry.
think I'm
So,
somewhere in the
can I
middle.
can I ask
Yeah.
a question, Shridharati Prabhu? Are you going to bring some of the comments up because you want me to comment on those, or you want to just them slide, like we not
Yeah.
give attention to that? Like
Oh,
for
yeah, it's a
instance,
mix of the two.
Yeah, put that one on.
I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, you wanna talk about some of them? Sure. Yeah, we got like
I mean-
Krishna Kirti's.
Okay.
Here about this one. How about this one here? Here's a good one here. It's the false equivalence one. Here we go. So not all heterosexual couples are qualified. I believe that's meant to say, but no same-sex couple is. False equivalence.
That's a personal opinion, and because we are not literally slaves, although you may believe so, because we are not literally slaves, people can have their opinions. So this person, Krishna Kirti Das, is saying that no same-sex couple is qualified, and he has the right to have an opinion. I strongly disagree with this opinion. Is not based on Shastra, it's not based on logic, it's not based on human psychology, it's not based, it's an opinion. And all I have to say is this: he has the right to an opinion, and it's just an opinion. So I don't think we need to spend much time in an opinion.
And I would say the same, Prabhu. Your opinion about your same sex adoption is your opinion. It's not supported by shastras. It's knowing in the scriptures that gay couples in the shastras appear adopting children. LGBTQT in the scriptures say it's okay for them to do this. I don't think so. So it's your opinion as well.
Okay. Let's talk about Shastra, because the Shastra should be the center, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Shastra. Kind of. Finally, now, the goal of human life is self-realization, and the goal of human life is Krishna consciousness. Self-realization, Krishna consciousness is synonymous. Now, if, and it's an if, so it's conditional, it's provisional. If you have a couple of devotees who are same-sex marriage, could be two women, it could be two men, but they are serious devotees, serious human beings, responsible, productive citizens, just very good people and good devotees. And they have, because it's natural, this sense of, I said, Vatsalya Bhav, or paternal mood, maternal mood, parental mood. It would be very, very good for a person, say an orphan or somebody who has no connection with Krishna consciousness, to be adopted by this couple. This is Shastra, because association of devotees is recommended by Shastra and is the door to liberation. This is Shastra. To say that, okay, you have a very responsible gay couple, but they cannot adopt a child, it's against Shastra, because Shastra says we need to help souls to become liberated, to become Krishna conscious. So why we want to negate there is this child, maybe lost, orphan, who knows where is kept, by whom? We have a chance for this couple to fulfill their maternal and paternal spirit, bhav, needs, we could say, emotional needs, emotional inclination. And you have a chance for a soul in a human body to have the association of Krishna conscious parents, to eat prasadam every day, to hear kirtan every day, to hear philosophy every day. And now we are saying no, only because it's a same sex couple. I think this is totally against Shastra.
Okay, I understand that. At the same time, there's like exceptional, and the Bhagavad Dharma is unlimited. Nasmarane Nakalaha. There's no limits to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So there's no time, place, and circumstance. It's not like Karma Kanda. And at the same time, there is like a way of organizing human society according to what is normalized and what is regular. Because just throwing this out there, right? Now, Krishna Kirti makes the strong claim that no same-sex couple is. Maybe, maybe not, right? Maybe some are. But at the same time, there's two sides to it. One is that there's dealing with the situation as it is right now, like descriptively. These people are coming, they're same-sex couples, they have children. What are we going to do about that? We can't say we ban all same-sex couples, and so therefore, it's not real. But then there's also about what happens when we take over the country and how do we run the country. In my kingdom, there may be people who are same-sex couples and they have children because they found an orphan wandering somewhere, but it will not be normalized or regularized, and it will be like, I'm sorry, but you are a marginalized community, like down the hierarchy. You're just not first class, and there's no problem with that because you don't have to be socially first class to chant Hare Krishna and go back home back to Godhead. But the social classes exist for the purpose of organizing society for the general protection of, people. And so I would say that same-sex couples, and this is my experience of them, we had gay brahmachari in the ashram, disrupting the temple. He ended up living with a partner, a gay partnership, super stable, long-term. He's not disturbing other people anymore. He doesn't seem to be disturbed. They're practicing Krishna consciousness. Good on them. Not for the general mass of devotees. And to adopt children into that, I wouldn't recommend it. If they went ahead and did it, they should chant Hare Krishna, but they're not first class. He might be first class among the gays, but he's not first class among the community. And I'm sorry, that's just the way that is. You're a marginalized community and you can chant Hare Krishna. What do you think of that?
Now, I took a look a little bit about these comments and about the latest comments, and they're very symptomatic of a very, very deep misunderstanding that sometimes devotees have. They
You want me to pull
mix.
one up?
You can take the last one, for instance, or the second. But how can one practice adharma? How
Sorry.
can sex? Okay, yeah. See, there is a basic misconception which I saw, especially in India. I must say, of course, I live in India, so my experiences are primarily in India. There is a very deep misconception among devotees. They think it's the same thing between the sexual orientation, homosexual sexual orientation, and the homosexual sexual act, which is obviously is not the same. In other words, you may have the most renowned sannyasi or brahmachari, he is still an heterosexual. We agree on this. It's not that now it becomes asexual. The most renounced, the most detached, the most advanced sannyasi brahmachari or brahmacharini, they're still heterosexuals. So there is a misconception, there is a false idea that somebody who is homosexual necessarily has to be performing homosexual activities. It would be like saying that anybody who is heterosexual has to be engaging sex. It's not like that. So we should be very clear that this is a fact. This is a fact that one thing is sexual orientation and one thing is sexual activity. If we mix the thing, then the whole discussion becomes absurd with no basis in reality.
So you're distinguishing between guna and karma.
No, well, you can put it like this, but one thing is the innate tendency, innate. There are many. Obviously, most people are heterosexual, and many people, especially among devotees, don't have any sexual activities. So also among homosexuals, we cannot say, oh, they are homosexual in terms of orientation, therefore they're engaging in homosexual activity. It's not a fact.
Not
Full
necessarily, but they
stop.
probably are. They probably are.
I don't think you have a study. I don't think you have statistics.
Oh,
These are all.
if you know, if you had to bet, right? If they stuck the gun to your head and say make a choice, of course you're going to
But-
say yeah. But you're going to say that for
bet
anyone.
bet is against the four regulatory principles. Be careful. You're already going into a dharma here.
Yeah.
There is
yeah,
another should we take another comment? We have
Yeah,
the
I got one.
Manusmriti.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. But here's Sridhar Srinivas Prabhu comes in with, if you chant Hare Krishna but practice Adharma, is it okay? The answer is yes. Mrigari the hunter is the example. An Aryan is one who knows the progressive values of life. He's not first class, but he's making progress. And that's what's been demonstrated in that pastime of the hunter who was half killing the animals. And Narada Muni said, well, completely kill them, because that's in advance on what you're doing right now.
I will have a comment about this. If you chant Hare Krishna means is chanting Hare Krishna is purifying, thus becoming more dharmic. But if you chant Hare Krishna but you practice adharma, it's like pouring yourself with urine. I'm saying, hey, I'm the most beautiful and good-looking lady, but I'm pouring myself with urine. What is the beauty there?
Yeah, but there's two ways of looking at this.
Sitapati Prabhu, sorry, Sitapati Prabhu.
Yeah.
I need a 2-minute bio break. I'll be back
Sure.
in a jiff.
In 2 minutes.
You say 2 minutes.
Okay, we'll keep discussing here. Because here's the question. What do you advise that person to do? Of course you can say, well, stop pouring urine on yourself. Like, these are different classes.
But you have to understand, honey, when you start chanting Hare Krishna, you start purifying yourself. So let's say we've been adharmic in our life. Obviously we were.
Yep.
And then we start chanting Hare Krishna, and our nature, who is basically full of bliss and we dharmic person, is starting to come up, right? Naturally, if you chant Hare Krishna, genuinely that will come. You will start purifying yourself. That is the end of this.
Yeah.
But temporarily, until we get to this, we may get into this state of like getting all fickle and scared and whatever. But if we genuinely want to progress in life, we're going to be in a better position.
Yeah, but to this thing here is that Narada Muni's prescription for him was progressive. So it's like, okay, you say that, if you do a dharma and chant Hare Krishna, is that okay? But it's a ladder. It's like, if you do a dharma, you're here. If you do a dharma and you chant Hare Krishna, you can make progress. And then you can get to the point where you chant Hare Krishna and you don't do a dharma.
Exactly. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Yeah.
We come from a very adharmic lifestyle. I have to say like that. Even my parents were very Christian and highly moral. Still, I've been adharmic in many ways, but not as horribly adharmic. But when they started chanting the Hare Krishna and reading the whole scriptures, it's just like, okay, I have a better understanding. My intelligence is a little bit more clear, and I can understand why am I doing all of this and what is my future. Only by chanting the Hare Krishna and only by reading the scriptures. Yes, this person, that adharmic person, for sure has a future like me.
Yeah.
If, obviously, by Krishna's grace, we have these blessings of Krishna and devatas on us that we can make progress. Or we become these like hypocrites things like, we chanting Hare Krishna, but hey, I'm just going for a break and bumping another guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like,
if you're running the country, what do you do about homosexuality in the country? How do you deal with that?
Chant Hare Krishna and follow the regulatory principles. End of the story. And then give yourself a break. Give yourself a break for maybe have a 3 months, 6 months, and let's discuss where we at.
That's not a social policy. That's an individual prescription for someone. That's not a social policy.
Yeah, well, for any person, well, if you are thinking about the psychology of person,
See,
you have to think about this. In the psychology thinking, people need to give themselves a space
Sure.
wherever they're going through.
Yeah.
Okay, you may be going through like your career and you just want to concentrate on your career. Okay, focus this and this.
Okay.
And then let's discuss about your marital life and this. Where are you at? So it's like a prescription, basically. It's like guidance. You
Yeah,
guide. The
but-
purpose of a leader is to guide
Sure,
them.
but I don't see how this is. I know people get really like fixated and emotional about this, but I don't see how this is any different from.
I'm back, by the way.
Srila
Yeah, you know,
Prabhupada.
You know I'm back.
Huh?
By the way.
Oh yeah.
You're still on a break for us.
I know people get super into this for some reason. They just love it. But I don't see how it's any different from Srila Prabhupada's prescription for intoxication, meat eating, or prostitution given in the Bhagavatam, which is that you have to have a regulation, a regulated society, sectors of the town where that happens and sectors where it doesn't happen, first class people who don't do it, third class people who do it, and then they and then they have their sector and they do their thing, and it's acknowledged that they're not following the highest thing, and you regulate it. How is being gay, homosexuality, if you call it a sinful activity, any different from eating meat, drinking alcohol, or prostitution? Unless it is some kind of fundamental orientation, in which case you're obviously the wrong race or the wrong caste, right? And you can try again in your next
Isn't
life.
it?
I don't know.
Yeah, isn't it? It's a different caste.
What? Well, I mean, eating meat, prostitution, and what was the other one I mentioned? Intoxication. They're definitely activities. They're not orientations.
Silent.
Yeah.
Are you still on a break, Prabhu?
No, was a question to me? I thought you were discussing among yourselves.
Oh, we're just throwing things up in the air at the moment.
Okay, let me know when you want me to
Jump in.
Okay.
So here, Krishna Kirti has the prescription, how to
Uh-huh.
elevate a fallen person. You should stop this This is Srila Prabhupada's letter to Lalita Nanda. And he says, you should stop this homosex immediately. It is illicit sex. Otherwise, your chances of advancing in spiritual life are nil. Show Krishna you are serious if you are. Letter to Lalita Nanda, Hawaii, 26 May 1975.
That is a
Would you
really
like
good
me to comment
compassionate
on that?
Srila Prabhupada.
Would you like me to comment
Yeah,
on
sure.
that?
Okay.
Yeah, please
Okay.
do.
When is it,
Obviously, this is a very specific situation. We have Srila Prabhupada talking to an initiated disciple. Lalitananda is an initiated name. And this Lalitananda, whom I don't know personally, this Lalitananda obviously has taken the vows of initiation, right? Because he's initiated. And having sex, homosex or heterosexual sex outside marriage, definitely is against the four regulative principles. So here we have a spiritual master who is instructing the disciple to follow the vows of initiation. And I don't think we should build a whole a social philosophy on it. It's a spiritual master who is telling the disciple to follow the four regulative principles. That's the essential issue. Now, I like the point you made before. Like somebody, I don't remember what example you gave, but if somebody say is eating meat, you can add Krishna. Now, is it okay to eat meat? No, it's not okay, especially if you made a vow not to eat meat. But if you are eating meat, that's your present conditioning, you should certainly chant Hare Krishna. So it's a question of perspective. Are you coming up or are you coming down? If you're coming up, okay, you're a butcher, horrible, but okay, chant Hare Krishna, read this Bhagavad Gita, come to the temple. If you are initiated devotee, certainly don't become a butcher, please. So it depends on the person, because it's like being a doctor. Depending on the patient, you give different recommendations. So Yes, a guru, in this case Srila Prabhupada, should recommend the disciples to follow the vows of initiation. Now, to expand this to, okay, no same-sex marriage, no adoption, uh, no this, no that. Obviously, it's a stretch, but we can talk anything. We can talk anything, and this is one of the beauty of your show that, and I'm personally grateful. You know that on certain things we may not agree, but still somehow you offer me a chance to express, and so I'm very, very, very grateful. At the same time, this is my observation in my 43 years of ISKCON, and in interacting with all sorts of people and also all parts of the world. As you remember, Sita Prabhu, we got to know each other in Peru, of all places.
Mm.
So that's what I can see. There is a lot of prejudice, and sometimes this prejudice sometimes is based on a very partial or skewed understanding of Srila Prabhupada instructions. I'll give you an example. The most famous quote on homosexuality is probably uh, in the episode of Lord Brahma when he's attacked by Rakshasas, who apparently wanted to gang rape him. And the Acharyas say so many things. They analyze the Sanskrit. They explain that they were attached that they were attracted to the feminine aspect. But that's it's really neither here nor there at the moment, because Srila Prabhupada say that the homosexual appetite for a man for another man is demonic.
Is demoniac, and not
Yeah.
for any man in a sane course of life.
So many people stop there and forget. They forget, or either they don't know, or they want to forget that just few verses later, probably possibly written in the same morning or next morning, Srila Prabhupada also says the attraction of a male for a female form made of bones and blood and all things we know, that's also demoniac. And a couple of verses later, Srila Prabhupada also say that all music and all dance, which is not devotional in nature, is also demoniac. Therefore, this impels us, truly morally and intellectually compels us to go deep. What does it mean? What Srila Prabhupada means by demoniac? If even heterosexual attraction, which is, we could say, natural for an heterosexual, and things like dance and song, which is not purely devotional, it's demoniac. I mean, you have, say, a Bulgarian folk dance with these Bulgarian people dressed in Bulgarian folk thing, and they sing and song, oh, Bulgaria, with all your beautiful hills and rivers, I love you, and that's demoniac. So Srila Prabhupada had a very, we could say, liberal disposition to brand something as demoniac. And so if we take things out of context, we walk away with some very strange ideas. That's what I want to go on record saying. We should take Srila Prabhupada's whole, not just extract a little piece of the puzzle and then make it into a new religion.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. At the same time, though, is it not that, as you stated before, there are punishments for homosexual acts? Like, there's a license for heterosexual acts within this Vedic system for the begetting of children, but homosexual acts themselves are always subject you have to take a bath or whatever it might be, pay a fine, right? That's from the
Yeah.
Tritiya
So,
Prakriti.
Sitapati Prabhu, we could put on this this last but one comment, 239, because that's a
This one?
question about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, would you like to read it?
Yeah. Is Kaunteya Prabhu going to continue pretending that there are no shastric injunctions against homosex? So I take that as homosexual acts, or
Okay. First of all, I never pretended, and you are my witness because we have been together in the last 2-3 hours. I never pretended that there are no shastric injunction against homosex. So this is obviously a false accusation. I myself, I gave an example of ancient India legislation: take the full bath when you do
Mhm.
a homosex act. So this is a false accusation. There are in shastric injunction. The issue is this: in everything there is sambandha, abhideya, and prayojana. We know ultimate prayojana is love of God. Sambandha means understanding the present, the context, the relations, the elements of a certain situation. Now, homosexuality, yes, there are, we say, punishments. There are punishments in different ancient India legislation. We could discuss how much of shastras are those, how much are local customs, how much are interpolation. We can discuss that, but yes, in the shastra, pending uh, analysis of the legitimacy of the shastra, in the shastra there are punishments for homosexual acts. Okay, yes, full stop. And I never pretended that there isn't. Now that's sambandha again. Next is abideya. So what we do with these people? That's a very legitimate. In other words, the discussion cannot stop at the sambandha. You need to go to abideya. And at least among us three, it seems that we agree. Okay, you have still this attachment. You have still this slavery, to use a word which you use a lot today. You have still
fallback.
this
Yeah.
this slavery to sex life, in this case homosexual sex life. And okay, what we do? And so I think we agreed that yes, you can chant Hare Krishna, you should chant Hare Krishna. And if you are initiated, like in the case to the letter to Lalitananda, yes, you should take steps realigning to your vows. So we cannot stop at just as a blind condemnation. Okay, it is sinful. Therefore, what? What's the next step? That's otherwise we are failing as a Brahminical society. We are failing in our pastoral duties. Just branding something, oh, this is sinful. That doesn't complete your duties. Just like your parents, okay? Just saying to the child, this is wrong, whatever it may be. This is wrong.
Mhm.
That doesn't complete your duty as a parent. You got to say why it's wrong. You say, and you have to say what's the right thing to do. So I hope, at least among us three, we agree that okay, somebody's still engaged in homosexual activity. Uh, they should chant Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Do we
So I
agree?
hear you
Do we
here.
agree on this? Do we agree on this?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Great.
Do you think the gays should chant Hare Krishna?
What kind of question is that?
Well, that's the question. It's like, should the gays chant Hare Krishna?
Gay, whatever, chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah, of course. The
Okay.
dogs,
So
the
we
cows,
are,
the
so
sheep
we
chant
are,
Hare Krishna.
so we agree on the basic
Of course we
abideya.
agree.
But I think there's something here that might have been stepped over, which is you seem to be saying two things, acknowledging that, okay, we say that it's sinful and now what are you going to do about it?
Mhm.
But then earlier you made this equivalence. He said, oh, well, Prabhupada says it's demoniac, but he also says that, dancing and singing that's not devotional is also demoniac. But you're not like putting those two things on the same level, right? Like,
think it's given
Srila Prabhupada puts them on the same level. Now, if you can interpret which one is more demoniac. Obviously, say, I give an example. Let's say Monday music. Okay, there are thousands. You're a musician, so you know better than me. There are thousands of styles of music, thousands of messages in Monday music. Obviously, is more demoniac. Say some type of music, some type of songs that promote suicide, that promote murder. That's more demoniac than a simple folk song, no, a Maori folk song glorifying the beauty of New Zealand. Now, according to Srila Prabhupada, both are demoniac, meaning non-devotional. They're not God conscious. And ultimately, if they're not God conscious, they're kind of uh, somewhat godless, because there is no God. Godless in the sense is not God. There's no God. But definitely the very heavily atheistic propaganda and sinful propaganda is more demoniac than normal, okay, love songs. I know I like you, let's get married or something. Now, so similarly, homosex, when we talk of homosex, there are millions of people of sexual orientation. There are people among this sexual orientation who are totally celibate, and they're very serious devotee. Okay, so we need to see the spread, the range. We cannot just say, oh, homosexual, it's all one. No, it's not one. I agree with Dana Devi that these homosexuals or anybody should not promote that particular sexual appetites in the schools. I agree that they should not push people. Oh no, maybe you are homosexual. Think deeply about that. Why don't you want to try? Maybe you like more. I agree on that. That's not acceptable. But let's not. What I'm only saying, let's not lump all together, because it's a world, it's a universe of millions of people, including very serious Vaishnavas. So, sexual attraction of any kind is not the perfection of life. And sexual attraction of any kind ultimately must be transcended. Now, I believe, and I said very clearly in the book, and obviously some people didn't like, I believe that just like heterosexual attraction is channeled through marriage, same-sex marriage among homosexuality can be a way of becoming more spiritual, more regulated, more disciplined, fix their mind, fix their emotion, just like for heterosexuals.
Mm-hmm. I mean, based on my personal experience with that devotee who was at the temple and who was like disturbed and disturbing others, once he got himself into that situation, he became peaceful. And then his practices, gone from there. So I observe in his own personal life that, yeah, okay, that's like he's settled in his nature there.
more of passion, total more of passion.
Yeah, I mean, Krishna Kirti says the Shastra is essential in determining whether something like homosex marriage is acceptable. It is unacceptable because there are injunctions that prohibit it.
Okay, okay, let's. You want me to deal with that? You want me to address that?
Which is why Contextualizing is basically speculative. Okay.
Can I just say something about that? Like, for me personally, because of my nature, and then I'll hand it over to you, Prabhu. My nature is like this. It's like I'm thinking about how I'm going to run this country, or not, if not the entire country, because I think the future here and around the world is a collapse into smaller local states and regions. If I have to run this region here, how I would run it, and I got gay people in the region, like as a practical matter, I would criminalize it. I would create some kind of signaler for it to limit it and to put it down to make the hierarchy clear, that at the top you have the celibates, completely celibate. Then you have the married people at the, that only have sex for procreation. Then they're married and they have sex or whatever. And then you have like the gays, and then they put some kind of limiter on it. So I think the thing is that the injunctions prohibit homosexual marriage. There are injunctions there, but they're not meant to like, put people to death or anything. They're meant to put social limiters around these things, and then we need to have some progressive program for people. So I'm always thinking from, in reality, whether it's my temple, whether it's my region that I'm running or whatever, how am I going to deal with these people? Yeah. Over to you, Prabhu.
Okay, so let's say what Krishna says. For instance, in the Mahabharata, there is a dialogue he has with Arjuna on dharma. Okay, and Krishna says, and obviously I'm paraphrasing, but Krishna says very clearly that some people say that Shastra should be the basis to determine dharma. And Krishna says, I'm not against that idea. At the same time, Krishna says, Shastra does not cover all the options, all the alternatives. Shastra does not cover all the possible situations. Okay? So let's remember the goal of life. Let's remember the the goal of life, which is self-realization, which is Krishna consciousness. We should help people, and we should help ourselves to put ourselves in a congenial situation, in a conducive situation for advancing in spiritual life. Now, if you have a problem, if Krishna Kirti Das has a problem with the word marriage, it may not be used the word marriage. It's very interesting. In the Merriam-Webster dictionary, they use marriage and they give the contemporary definition of marriage, which include same-sex marriage. And it says, and then it gives a usage, what do you call, note. They say, look, it's not the job of a dictionary to say what's moral, what's immoral, what should be legally approved or not. The job of a dictionary is to describe how a word is used. Okay? So, in 29 countries and counting, same-sex marriage is legal. Either Krishna Kirti Das or anybody likes it or doesn't like it. It's a fact. It's legal. Now, if you don't like to use the word marriage, we can speak about civil unions. We can speak about partnership. We can, you can see, I'm very liberal. If you don't like the word marriage, don't use the word marriage. We can talk about companionship. We can call about interpersonal commitment and covenant. I give you an example. There is a dialogue between Srila Prabhupada. You can easily find it. There's a dialogue and among Srila Prabhupada and the American leaders. And in that particular dialogue, Srila Prabhupada was very much supporting polygamy, marrying one more than one wife. Okay? Later on, he banned in ISKCON and so on. But in that particular, almost as if he was teasing his leaders. But Srila Prabhupada was saying, yeah, you can have more than one wife. And then these leaders, I'm talking leaders, okay? They say, no, but Srila Prabhupada is not legal in America. We cannot do it. Srila Prabhupada say, don't call it wife, call it friend. He was he was saying, don't call it wife. If it's illegal, call it friend. The point is that it should be, I believe, Vaishnavas should accept the anthropological fact that a life with a single partner is better than a life of promiscuity. Now, you have some psychological problem. You cannot call it a marriage. uh, although in my book I quote Wikipedia, which maybe not the highest evidence of the world, but I quote Wikipedia, an article, homosexuality in ancient India, and there it says that in certain circumstances homosexual would marry. Now, I repeat, if you have a problem with the word marriage, don't use the word marriage. But don't try, because it's an atrocious act of violence. Don't try to prevent people who love each other as a man and a woman love. Yes, there is no love, it's all lust, but whatever. When there is real affection between two human beings who want to share a marital relation, a Vaishnava cannot and should not prevent them from having a marriage like, if you don't want to call it marriage, relations, because that's violence, it's against nature, and that's against Krishna consciousness. It's against the principles of bhakti to facilitate the growth of people as individual in their emotional life, in their psychological life, in their social life. So if you don't like the word marriage, don't use it. But if you try to prevent serious devotees from living together because of your own whatever blockages, that's not in line with Vaishnavism, and therefore is not in line with Shastra.
I don't think anyone's going to prevent them. They might say something, but words are words, you know?
And that's why I said all these statements by this or that the devotee saying, no way, adoption, no way. Uh, in one sense, I'm very happy that these devotees are not running countries, are not passing laws, and therefore these are
Well-
just opinions.
Well, here's the thing, Prabhu, is like they can advise Kshatriyas in local kingdoms and people will migrate to live in the kingdom that they want, you know? That's the decentralized Krishna system, you know? You have local customs, local laws. Here, Krishna Kirti is saying the idea is that not everyone is fit for a Vedic society and that such communities have their own customs and they should be left to tend to their own affairs.
Well,
And
I mean,
then,
what it means Vedic. You see, this is a contradiction of terms. Okay, okay. If you can go back. Okay, yeah, yeah. This is a contradiction of terms because he's saying not everyone is fit for a Vedic society. Okay, but he's presenting what I believe he thinks is a Vedic concept, that such communities have their own customs and they should be left to tend to their own affairs. So he say is not Vedic, but so either what he say is anti-Vedic or is Vedic. In other words, what Vedic means? Veda means knowledge. So either we act according to knowledge, according to a valid understanding of reality, or we act according to whimsical, negative, counterproductive, and degraded principles. So here, Krishna Kirti Das, I take this, this statement, although formally incorrect, I take it as a kind of a positive step. Because, first of all, it doesn't define what's a Vedic society, what's a not Vedic society. He just quoted Manu Samhita a couple of times. According to Manu Samhita, at least the editions we have now, there are only four varnas and they are based on birth. So, according to the book that somehow he seems to prefer as an authority, or at least think that it's an authority for Vaishnava, it's a caste system. The Manu Samhita promotes a caste system based on birth. And in the humblest way I am able to, I would like to ask Krishna Kirti, do you know that at the beginning of the Manu Samhita, it also establishes who can deal with the Manu Samhita, who can quote the Manu Samhita. And it says only people who are born from in a Brahmana family, born from a virgin mother, means virgin before the marriage, only those are qualified in reading or studying or telling about the Manu Samhita. So we have a basic contradiction here. You want to play with the Manu Samhita, where the Manu Samhita itself prohibits Malechas born to deal with the Manu Samhita. And Srila Prabhupada very clearly says, if you deal with Manu Samhita, you go back to being Malechas a Yavana. This is a very clear instruction. And it's not just a general warning, it's what the Manu Samhita says. According to Manu Samhita, we cannot touch the Manu Samhita. So all this play, this world jugglery, the Manu Samhita says this, and the Vedic society, which we don't know where are the boundaries of Vedic society, because just say Vedic society as a very vague and broad concept. All these concepts just create, a cloud of confusion, of misinformation, of disorientation, which ultimately create a neo-smarta atmosphere, which is against Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement.
Okay. It's just hit just after 10:30 at night here. And this is the
Oh,
perfect segue to announce our next. We have to get you to come back on to talk about your book, Neo Smartas. This is the perfect drop-off point for this. Can we get you to come back to talk about that one?
I'll be glad to.
Okay. Let's just give the last word to Krishna Kirti and the Manu Samhita here for this one. Is after that.
But Krishna
Manu-
Kirti cannot touch the Manu Samhita. Both Srila Prabhupada and the Manu Samhita itself says that. But anyway.
Sure. Manu Samhita 12.108, very auspicious, says that on questions for which there are not points mentioned in the Shastras, like what do you do about gay marriage in New Zealand in 2023, then whatever a Shishta Brahmana says is to be considered Dharma. So there is some hope for the future. Yeah, let's get you to come back on to talk about the Neo Smartas book, since that's where we ended this conversation, which covered slavery, Hitler, same-sex adoption, and then gay marriage. We like the greatest hits of the controversies. Let's go for closing comments.
You go first. I'll think about mine.
Okay, so let's go in this order. Then I'll go first, and then you, and then we'll give Kaunteya the last word.
Yeah,
You
for
okay with
sure.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't agree with everything. I do agree with the necessity of having the conversation, and there are going to be different perspectives. There are going to be different kingdoms. People are going to vote with their feet. We're going to be either running these kingdoms or advising people who are running these kingdoms, and not all of them are going to be the same. They're going to be different. People are going to run them in different ways, and Brahminical discussion based on Srila Prabhupada's instructions, his writing, the mission he's given us, and then taking into account the world that's in front of us and how do we connect what we find in front of us, the Sambandha, with the Abhidaya of how do we construct these Aryan civilizations, progressive values of life are expressed, and people have the opportunity to live in, the second half of Srila Prabhupada's mission, the Daivi Varnashram society of the future. It's going to be based on the principles of the past, the same eternal principles, but it's going to have its own particular expression. And this conversation and the book are part of the creation of that. This is the fulfillment of what Srila Prabhupada wanted from his disciples and grand disciples to push the mission on in this way.
What can I say? Purity is the force. And if we really sincere of what Srila Prabhupada wants for us to do, or following instructions Srila Prabhupada, and what Krishna really wants for us, liberation for sure, then I guess follow everything genuinely. Yeah. And our brothers may be, brothers and sisters may be dealing with this confusion of like, I'm not a man, I am a female. No, I'm a female, I'm not a man. They're just entrapped in this material world of confusion and allowing, no, I wouldn't use the word allowing, not guiding them to get out of that circle will be a, I wouldn't say punishment, but
Dereliction,
could be, yeah.
like a abandonment or a failure.
A misfavor or failure towards them.
Disservice.
A disservice, that's the word.
That's the
Thank you,
word.
honey. A disservice towards them because they're dealing with too much from previous lifetime to this lifetime, and going more downhill, spiraling down, I don't think is the best for us as a brothers and sisters to do. So we can only follow Srila Prabhupada, live our lives according to the shastric injunctions, and then our lives could be an example for these people.
Thank you.
Your turn.
Over to you, Prabhu.
Okay. I would like to just emphasize this concept, like basic, we could say, basic epistemic concept. There is Sambandha, there is Avideya, there is Prayojana. So, yes, any sex outside of marriage and any sex outside of the intent to procreate a human life is to some extent, again, remember the degrees, to some extent guilty, okay, or a sign of slavery to the senses. We can all, I believe, accept that as a principle of Sambandha Jnana. The next step is Abhideya, what we do with the majority of the world and the majority, frankly, also, presumably also the majority of practicing Vaishnavas who are not able to follow the super ideal standard. In that, some devotees, I believe mistakenly, they go for evidence which is really not, uh, uh, which is not really relevant for devotees, for devotees of Lord Chaitanya, for followers of Lord Chaitanya, for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in the introduction of his Krishna Samhita that Manu Samhita is interpolated. There's a lot of stuff being put, and there's also scholars also agree on that. It's not a point of contention. There's one scholar says less than half of the verses of the Manu Samhita are original. So you may accept the Manu Samhita, but which edition, by whom, what's left of that, for whom, for which human society is that? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the Manu Samhita has been manipulated by people who wanted to impose the caste system. Otherwise, originally it was teaching Daiva Varnasha. Irrespective of one's birth, one can reach perfection. So, in our Abhideya attempts, in finding a way forward to direct ourselves and others, those evidence is largely irrelevant or very, very controversial at best, very contentious at best. It's not enough just to say Manu Samhita says that, full stop. No, it doesn't finish there. Okay? Now, what's more relevant than the Manu Samhita or that Smriti Shastra here and there, or what's more relevant for us is to study the behavior of our Founder-Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. So I encourage, and I speak about this in the book for whoever wants to read it. I encourage everyone to study Srila Prabhupada, how Srila Prabhupada dealt with homosexuals. We have seen a letter. You have taken some vows. You need to follow some vows. Perfect. Now, how he dealt with Allen Ginsberg, an openly gay man who came to see Srila Prabhupada several times, sometime with his partner. At the time, there was no gay marriage in America. It was not a legal possibility. When Srila Prabhupada, Peter Orlowski came, when Sudama Vipra was with Srila Prabhupada, we should really study how Srila Prabhupada dealt with people of homosexual um, orientation. That's much more relevant for us that we could say something else. Now, since the whole discussion was based, and again, a lot of gratitude, a lot of appreciation for giving me a chance to explain, uh, to address some of these issues. Now, maybe you want to put my email somewhere in this comments or in your website, wherever you post this, because if people wants to read my book is a compilation of what Srila Prabhupada say, an analysis why he said, the context. My book, tough questions, difficult answer, so that they can make up their own mind. And I agree with you, Sitapati Prabhu. For certain aspects, we need a lot more dialogue to clarify what is our policy as a Vaishnava community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for coming on. Thank you to all of the viewers and listeners, both live at the moment and in the future. And we'll put your email into the description on YouTube so that people can write to you so that they can get a copy of the book.
And more comments.
Yeah, we're going to have heaps more comments coming in. I'm sure Krishna Kirti will want to come on to have like a clapback episode or something.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and then we'll get you back for the Neo Smarter episode to talk about that other book. Which can people also get that book as well by writing to you if they want to?
Well, that's they don't need to write to me. It's a free download in the site Real Barton Ashram at WordPress or on my profile Facebook. I can put the link when you post this YouTube video. That's a free download. Everybody can get it without having to write to me.
Okay,
I'm a little
fantastic.
I'm a little more careful about the other book because some inimical people could actually use it against Srila Prabhupada. So I just want to know, okay, you want this book? Why you want the book? Who are you? Like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thanks for coming on, Prabhu. Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, total world victory of Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.